and oh, hell no. Nope, I'm done with this. Oh, that was unnecessarily loud. You could have just asked me to leave.
Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, back here, coming at you live for another Operation GCD Fridays. Thanks again for joining me here tonight, folks of the interwebs, to get a little GCD, and I will not belabor these points any further. Welcome on our guest for this evening, Miss Dana DooDah. Welcome back to Operation GCD for the very first time. Thanks for joining me to get a little GCD.
Thank you. Hello. Thanks for having me. Happy
Yes,
Halloween.
Happy Halloween indeed. Got a very spooky adventure here for folks tonight, talking full-blown process, but when saying that, also kind of means Scientology, right?
Always.
Without questions. And joining us also here tonight, the other JJ. Welcome back, sir, to Operation GCD for the very first time. Thanks again for joining me here to go GCD.
Yes, thank you so much for having me back for my very first time.
Absolutely.
Very excited for this conversation, and happy Halloween to everyone out there.
For sure. We got spooky tales here, sir. We live in spooky times.
Oh, yes. Very spooky, very glowy times. It's like a glowing sea.
You ain't kidding.
It's like your background.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Miss Dana DooDah, will you please, not that you have to introduce yourself necessarily here. You've been joining us here on Operation GCD, obviously not for your first time, but do you have any new plugs you're working on over there at the Rotting Jewels, and what is the process?
Well, I'm almost done recording the next podcast episode, so the people who have been waiting or who have been on my ass about it, it's coming. And
you're in demand. That's not a bad thing, ma'am. That's not a bad thing.
I guess so. Tomorrow I do my weekly Sloppy Toppy PsyOp Saturdays. That's over on my Patreon. And what is the process? Well, do we really have to go through this? I feel like it's the whole spiel. If people are here, don't they know what the process is? We know the process is Scientology, and Scientology is the process. I think that's the most important point for everybody to take home. I've laid that argument out well enough.
That is a very important point you're making there, because it's often, misdescribed as being a separate entity.
Yes.
With a separate purpose, for that matter, right?
Yes.
Not working towards the same ends. But time after time, when you're looking at the historical aspects of it, they seem to be working towards the same ends, right?
Correct. Which would be chaos and the end of the world.
Spooky stuff here on Halloween. Very, very spooky stuff of an unintelligence agency variety, right?
And yeah, they're very unintelligent.
That's what I call them. Very unintelligent. And Jacob J, welcome back, sir. Again, do you have any plugs? Rise to Liberty, and is it your birthday?
It is definitely not my birthday.
Definitely not my birthday either, but I appreciate that. Some JJ's got a happy birthday today.
My birthday is coming up in February, so I will have a very happy birthday. But as far as plugs, so I'm working right now to go down the West Memphis 3 rabbit hole. Yeah. I mean, I've been going down it, but I'm actually having William. Yeah, it's
what's the environment like down there, sir?
It's filled full of spiders. lots of venomous spiders and lots of backstabbers and lots of really bad propaganda. But yeah, I'm going to have William Ramsey on to go over that with me. We were supposed to do that yesterday, but some things came up, and we want to make sure that when he comes on, that it's going to be the absolute best.
Getting real spooky here, sir.
Yeah, watch that. Just some jump scares. But we want to make sure that it's going to be the best content possible, because I really want to tear this whole thing apart. I'm really sick of the whole "they didn't do it" nonsense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually going to be. He'll be on. We'll do probably at least 2 shows, maybe 3, if we have to, because I am going to tear apart Paradise Lost, which is the biggest piece of shit propaganda machine I've ever seen. And so 2-3 shows maybe, but Monday is going to be the first show, so be on the lookout for that.
Hell yeah.
We'll do, sir. We'll do.
That's what's up. I I'm gonna have to check that out because I would like Bill's modern take on the whole documentary angle, just because
Right.
I kind of feel that way about the yogurt shop murders. So
Right.
to hear how his views have changed. Obviously he's the most well-versed person in the accurately about the West Memphis Three. So
Right.
Sure.
interested to hear
Now,
how.
are you back on the DNA stuff? There's a recent nonsense about the DNA stuff.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, as far as I know, this is going to be the third time that they've done like DNA test, like extra DNA testing. The last time was back in 2011, and for some reason, Damien Eccles and the other boys kept the results private. They will not release them to the public, which,
Well, of course not.
Why wouldn't you do
Right.
that?
well,
Like,
I
oops,
thought about
we're
that.
guilty. Oops.
Exactly.
I thought about that and I was like, well, I mean, if it cleared them, they would have blasted that information everywhere.
Bingo.
So why are they
For
keeping
sure.
it private? But yeah, I mean, this is just like, I feel like we're running in circles with this nonsense. And so I don't know what they're going to find if they do more DNA testing. But what's interesting is the type of DNA testing that they're going to do, which is actually like less accurate than the type that they've already done. So I don't know what they have, what they have up their sleeve, but
I got some ideas. I've been looking into those DNA matters too, man. I don't know what kind of games they're playing, but it's a bunch of shenanigans.
They're playing some serious fuck games out here. They're
No kidding.
weaponizing this stuff at such an accelerated rate. Like, just wait, they'll probably pull out a magic bullet for West Memphis 3. That's what they've done for the yogurt shop murders, and with Delphi, there's just magic bullets everywhere.
Oh, they're going to find that 30-06 bullet from Charlie Kirk's neck in the West Memphis 3 situation. Is what you're saying.
You probably will.
You mean
all of them both in one fell swoop?
The bullet that got stopped by Charlie's neck because he just drank so much milk.
Right. Oh, here we go. We're invoking the devil. Here you go, Jonah. You know that when we invoke Bill Colby's name enough, there's an CIA AI chatbot, Bill Colby Ball Washer, named RR channel that just shows up. So we'll see how long it takes. But
I love
you invoke the devil's name, the devil does appear.
That person is a Bill Colby Ball Washer. They come into my chat and say strange things.
Yeah, I seen him in your chat a couple weeks ago, ma'am. I meant to tell you that.
Oh, that's interesting. Come on,
they got their own
wash
stinger
his balls.
here. Check this out. Yeah, check this out.
Wash his balls. Let's all clap.
That's a stinger whenever he shows up, ma'am. That's what I do.
That's amazing. I gotta make those for my trolls. Oh, that's fantastic. I'll totally clap back at that. That person says some wild shit in my chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we make a good time out of it over here at Operation GCD. We like to roast him. He likes to try to claim Bill Colby murking 32,000 women and children is somehow, somehow explainable. I don't even
know.
What was it said on Wednesday that, at least Bill Colby was anti-communist?
Yeah, and it's he comes at me with that commie bullshit all the time. Like, then why am I surrounded by commies right now? RR? What's up,
right.
Yeah, that argument also doesn't really make sense because, I feel like the whole, Wackel, the Anti-Communist League, it's like they weren't really going after communism. They just wanted to run around and act like a bunch of Nazis and just say that they were going after communists.
Right.
So.
Right. Which is why we're still surrounded by commies.
Point. Yeah, this whole Red Scare of the 50s, folks think, oh, we got him. I don't know if that's how it all went down, especially when Roy Cohn's on the job.
No.
Right. Well, and let's see, who was it that led the anti-commie thing in Hollywood? It was why am I blanking on his name? He was the one that
while you're thinking of that, Sir Phil Z, that's a great comment. I did forget it. I do thank you all for joining us here tonight to get a little GCD, and this is indeed going to be a real barn burner here. And that's a real barn burner for comments, sir. I forgot all about that.
McCarthy
Colby was indeed fired as a result of the Halloween massacre.
McCarthy was the person I was thinking of. And, if Bill Colby and all of, these butt buddies were successful in, weeding out all the commies, then McCarthy wouldn't be as villainized as he actually is. But they failed completely, and then he gets dragged through the mud, which I'm not saying he's a good guy.
Hate him, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's pretty obvious to me. It seems pretty obvious. I mean, I'm not saying that, they have some good points. McCarthy was kind of a dick, obviously, it seems.
right.
He had some good points, but the idea that you're going to provide any try to substantiate the actions of these Muppets like Bill Colby and his queers, as I call them, because of the strange and obscure, effect they've had on our society that we can't explain, from Michael Aquino's to Ruby Ridge. You name the event, to the Orenthal James Simpson case and the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The chief witness for the prosecution in the state of California, one Carl Colby.
Right.
Fucking weird, man. Fucking weird.
It is very weird.
But so where does the Scientology fall into these political machinations, man? Because on paper, most of them are conservative.
Well, I mean, that's a great question.
Right.
Well, I mean, they're conservative.
The
If you're talking about Scientology, they're conservative. But with the process, you have, a little bit of everything. And their earliest magazines, the process magazines, they integrate both the pro-Nazi, pro-communism, and obviously, I think that all of these angles, for the most part, are faking gay, because it's, what truly is socialism versus what truly is, communism versus what truly is Nazism. A lot of these things have been misrepresented over the years, and people still buy into Cold War bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They still spout
100%.
These narratives as if it's bore out by the facts historically, and it's just simply not. But I mean, as far as modern day iterations, I mean, again, Scientology is the process is Scientology. So, look at the stuff going on with Turning Point right now, and Candy Ass Candace and Charlie Kirk.
So that's kind of thank you, ma'am. Are you in my brain hole, ma'am? That's kind of what I was getting at with they're fake conservatives. So on paper they want to play that game, and on paper, the process, especially Marxist Nazi belief systems, both believe. It's a weird combination of both. They have an odd philosophy. I'll leave it at that. But I don't know how one reconciles these philosophies in their head. Their whole reconciliation of opposites nonsense. But nonetheless, it seems like these are just they use these political names and ideals for their own machinations, and their own machinations are fucking spooky, whatever it is, right?
Well, I think that it speaks to the concept of, I think his name is Daniel. I think it's Daniel Boot. The book that he wrote, his original publication was put out in 1964, and then he put out a second edition in 1979 called The Invisible Government, which basically, lays out the argument that we've had this invisible government since, before World War II, because that's something that involves the episode that I'm recording right now. It does tie into the process. It does tie into Manson and Haight-Ashbury very specifically, as far as that scene goes. But this idea that, it's whether it's keeping it in the family, or the argument that he lays out more specifically that, in 1979, we have Jimmy Carter. Well, not 1979. It was, I think, 77. We have Jimmy Carter campaigning as the peanut farmer, the humble guy from Georgia, and he's just out here. He's a regular guy like you and me.
Just a good old boy.
He's a good old boy. He's shaking hands, kissing babies, everything is fine. And in reality, at that time, while he was campaigning, he was on the board of the Trilateral Commission, which is, much tighter than the Council on Foreign Relations. Council on Foreign Relations has hundreds of members. The Trilateral Commission had 70 at that time. And, Nixon did the same thing. Nixon campaigned on, I'm going to come in and I'm going to clean house. Did he clean house? No. What did he do? He ended up appointing within the first year and a half 70 members of the CFR into different positions in federal government. When Ford took over, what happened? He made sure to inform everybody that Henry Kissinger wasn't going anywhere. So it is what it is.
Well, and
now you're making some excellent points, ma'am. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say real quick that Nixon came in, followed the script and everything, and ended up getting screwed over in the end. Getting blamed for Watergate, which I don't believe at this point that he actually had much of anything to do with that. It kind of seemed like, for for whatever reason, they decided to frame him and try and take him out because they were done with him. They didn't need him anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's for sure, man. And he was a man in the know going back to OSS. He was an OSS man, Project Paperclip.
Right.
So he knew him and Nelson Rockefeller before he was the VP and before he was a congressman. Him and Nelson Rockefeller would cross paths in those worlds as well. So, we see Rockefeller's the one taking them out. Right. So they have a long history there. They have a storied past. And Tricky Dick, well, he may be tricky and a dick. He didn't see it coming, I don't think. No, he even thought he had power, right? He thought he could threaten Dick Helms, the CIA, chief. And then Dick, the Halloween massacre relative to Bill Colby and his queers. It is relative to Manson and Scientology. We see a lot of these things happening, right? Because September of 1975, previous to the Halloween of 75, where Colby and gang get fired, and we get George Bush #1 as the CIA director as a result of these things. But 2 Manson girls just happened to try to murk Gerald Ford in California, 3 weeks apart from one another in September of 75. That is what led up to this quote unquote Halloween massacre of firing everybody.
Right. Which is odd timing, right?
A little bit.
Seems it, right? You get Nixon out of the way, and then suddenly Ford's gone. We got President Nelson Rockefeller.
Right.
Well, and you also have who is it, Boyd Rice, going up to the First Lady and trying to hand her a severed goat's head, and Secret Service is pinning him down.
Right.
Like, why was the process and Manson family members allowed to get so close to these powerful figures? Do you expect anybody to believe that security was not aware of what was going on and that this was not very, very strange or particular PR moves for whatever reason? It's like, get the fuck out of here, man. I'm sorry. Like, get out of here.
No, you're spot on, ma'am. You're spot on for sure. And, it really begs the question of, like, I always try to say, like, we're trying to unpack these things from the outside in, and, like, we presume a reality that may exist in those narratives, but these folks internally I think they have a very weird narrative they're operating by in this life. And especially when it comes to Scientology and their belief systems, that those are the things that are driving their decisions. KSW, right? Keep Scientology working. That's all what they're all about.
Don't say that.
I'm just trying to explain the philosophies and mindset. I know you know that. I'm just saying, like, we have to understand that these folks aren't making rational decisions. You know what I mean? They're ancient alien cargo cultists doing irrational activities, trying to achieve an irrational end that's not achievable.
Sounds rational. In their mind,
it is.
It's don't tell them that.
Thing, right?
And it doesn't matter how many lifetimes, right? Because they'll obviously jeopardize many things in this lifetime for their future lifetimes, right?
Right. A mistake here in this lifetime doesn't matter if you've got so many millions of years.
So, in addition to this matters of Boyd Rice, one of my favorite Nazi Satanists that I like to talk about here in Operation GCD, especially my Thursday shows where I do the anatomy of the satanic panic, trying to unpack that psyops to mind more of old Muppet Mikey Aquino. And Boyd Rice is obviously kind of the next generation of all that stuff. He puts himself at the forefront of the neo-process stuff as well, with an inventor of industrial rock, mentor to Trent Reznor, Marilyn Manson, Skinny Puppy, Tracy Twyman. The list goes on. Anyhow, my point there is, what is going on? There's an obvious throughput from Boyd Rice to our modern era of these not only Nazis but specifically Nazi Satanists around Boyd Rice and himself threatening U.S. presidents. His underling Michael Moynihan would threaten Reagan and Bush, correct?
Yeah, and also it's like with Boyd Rice, he was with the original family. It's not even neo process. This is the old process coming into the new process. He's tight with Adam Parfrey. And, you have John Nill, who was with Manson. Like, these people all originate or spawn out of this, original group of these processians of no pun intended. Spawn Ranch. Spawned out. Yeah, sorry. I should have picked a different word, but they all kind of come out of this original thing, and they don't want people to make guilt by association, but it's like over the decades.
They don't know each other.
Well, they don't know each other,
Yeah, they don't
and,
know each other.
it's a total coincidence that all of their, writings, literature, things like that, that they all just happen to believe the same thing, that we have Michael Moynihan, Boyd Rice talking about blood rituals, things of that sort, shit that, that's crazy, that's satanic panic, you can't talk about that, people don't do that, humans have never done that since the time
Nope.
that the sun first fucking rose. It's the most ridiculous
Yeah,
thing that I've ever heard.
I was told that was a conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
So
Well,
no, people
I
don't
was
Just-
told
fall
the
just
in line with
process
weird
coincidences.
beliefs.
closed. I was told the process disbanded in 1974, ma'am.
right.
Yeah, get fucked. No,
You mean to tell me that's incorrect?
it's extremely incorrect. It's
I have a clip from author Tom O'Neill from Chaos talking with Rick Rubin, the Hollywood music producer of the actual album The Process, literally based on process church theology. You mean to tell me these two individuals aren't experts on the topic?
Rick Rubin pretended that he didn't know what the process was in that interview.
I got that clip for you right here.
They did visit Manson in prison before the trial. He did publish a letter to their followers in their magazine, but I don't think anybody's ever been able to prove to my satisfaction that they had any significant relationship. What's interesting, though, is they disbanded in, I think, the 80s, and
Yeah, see, he changed the timeline there. And when I
Right.
asked for,
Yeah.
because it's up to his satisfaction, right? So since he's moving the goalpost, because low key, I'm going to tell everybody right now, I'm calling it. It's a spooky day. This is the time to do it. We've seen the whole shit coding campaign that's happened with the late Maury Terry. Ed Sanders obviously isn't going to live forever. He's very, very old. I'm calling it right now. There is going to be the same kind of shit coding campaign against Ed Sanders when he does
100%.
pass, whenever that may be. And Tom O'Neill, I got my fucking eyes on you. I've had my eyes on you and I've been calling you out, but you know that Tom's going to be behind it. I'm sorry, because Tom does not cite Ed Sanders correctly in his book. He also does not acknowledge him, even though there are countless citations from Ed Sanders' archives at Princeton. He does not credit them properly.
Well, he even on top of that, man, you were spot on. I like where your brain hole's at. But on top of that, even he even retells the tale of the process lawsuit against Ed Sanders and his publishers incorrectly, does he not? In that same interview.
He misrepresents it. He makes it seem like the process won and that Sanders lost. They settled outside of court stateside and they lost on their own home turf. Because why? Because it came out that they were doing everything that Ed said and worse, including having sex with dogs. Okay,
Yeah.
so for people that think they're just like this cool, edgy cult, but the hard line is 1974, and that is for multiple reasons. The main specific reason is because they do not want people looking at any of their activity, particularly at Willowbrook, their volunteer program there, because that is around the time that they show up at Willowbrook, and also in consideration of the Son of Sam crimes, and in my humble opinion, the Atlanta child murders, because I just learned yesterday that one of the victims in particular, there has been a very persistent rumor, and I say rumor loosely, a lot of witnesses that saw a German Shepherd come out of where Luby Geeter was found, and that German Shepherd with the dog man that's referenced in that report investigation about the Son of Sam connection to ATL, that dog was his face was covered in blood and he had body parts, and Luby Geeter's autopsy report shows that his groin was removed and the meat was missing from his right leg and his feet
Yikes.
were removed.
Mm.
Not
Mm-mm-mm.
missing, not eaten away, they were removed. So that's a common theme that people say as far as the German Shepherd thing.
I agree. That's an undernoted fact you're pointing out. I've been looking more into these animal sacrifices as well, and it's often underreported and just ignored in many instances. Like, 80 dead German Shepherds in one pile, no big deal. Hold that thought. RR channel, glad to see you there, bud. Great to see you making it even spookier than it already was. Happy Halloween, you muppet. Tell those Muppets down at Langley I said, go fuck yourselves. So on that note, 80 dead German Shepherds ignored. That was just one instance in Putnam County, New York. I was reading recently. That was in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, there's also, I had a long conversation with someone yesterday who's the most knowledgeable person about the Atlanta child murders, and they were resistant for a long time to the rumors about the process. And then they're like, I'm just going to spitball with you here. And yeah, apparently there were a couple of individuals that may or may not be related, or maybe they were trying to frame some legitimate suspects that, there were dead dogs that were found on these people's properties shortly before these victims were found. And I don't know if you guys remember in Program to Kill. So Dave McGowan talks about that house that was abandoned that had like the Bible nailed to the wall, and, it smelled like dead bodies, and there was, kids' clothing, random pieces of kids' clothing kind of strewn about. It looked really suspect. There was the burned cross. So, two things. One, there was more than one house like that. There was two. And apparently, because there's actually video footage of this, they sent it to me and it's fascinating to look at. But in the second house, so it was also abandoned, but it was completely spotless, owned by the same person, both of these homes. And in the second home, Luby Geeter, the dog hit on Luby's scent in that house in the middle of the living room that was empty, and also in the well behind the house. This is on TV. They sent me the news clip where they were like, "Oh, there's nothing here. Doesn't matter that the dog hit here." And the dog allegedly hit on other victims at that first house where the Bible was opened.
Huh.
It's fucking bizarre.
Well, what you're saying speaks to the level of what I think indicates the level of the depth in which these cults have infiltrated our levels of authority, quote unquote, authority in government. They can just ignore evidence such as that and move along. And, put again, to date, no one has been convicted for any of them children's murders.
Correct.
One thing,
Williams, the child killer.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Dana, since you're so deep into all of this, as of now, in your opinion, why do you think they've literally been able to do this like Jedi mind trick of like, we're not a cult, like we don't exist? Like, how have they actually been able to get people to believe that they, one, don't exist, and even if they did exist, that they're not doing anything nefarious?
Well, because they're really good at propaganda, So look at Scientology's propaganda. People can sit there and kind of laugh at it, right? But, it still has a lot of money put into it. It's very high quality.
Right.
They have their own channel. There are some local TV networks that have a dedicated channel, right, where it's just running Scientology all day.
Right.
I think that
Where do I find that?
Well, there's a YouTube channel that runs it all day. I think that that's underestimated, especially for people who are lonely, right? You're just kind of scrolling through, and then you get in on the perfect ad, whatever it may be, because obviously their big focus is like, you don't need to go see a doctor for your mental health or your cancer or what the fuck ever. Or, hey, like, do you want to go find Xenu? But I think with the process, in particular, they gaslit they perfected the art of gaslighting everybody with we're definitely not doing any of this. We're edgy.
We
and
definitely don't know each other either.
They don't know each other. We're edgy.
That guy in the weird robe with the German Shepherd, I don't know him, even though we're both in weird robes. We're German Shepherds.
Correct. Like, we're just out here doing the opposite of what's cool, right? Which is the natural rebellious thing to want to do, the thing that's trendy, and you're doing the opposite. Like, that's really cool. But like, they're hanging out with Timothy Leary, they're hanging out with all these counterculture people. So like, obviously they have something that they're selling that people are interested in. But when you do push back, look at what happened to Ed Sanders. I mean, they fucking gang stalked him. He didn't believe in violence, he didn't believe in guns. He's walking around carrying a gun while he's writing the family. He's not sleeping. He can't eat. He's nervous all the time. He talks about how it deeply impacted his life. And part of that was because people close to him, like Paul Krasner, were fucking involved in things, stalking and helping the process, So It's
You mean
I
Paul Krasner, the Scientologist, ma'am? Is that who you mean?
he's a lot more than that, but yes. I think that it's people that even in the neo process era, especially in the Maryland, like I know people personally in regards to things that are adjacent to or directly related to Marilyn Manson. And right now,
Right.
today, in the horrorcore hip hop scene, where the process is very prominent, that if you push back on these people at all, they make your life a living hell in very serious ways. Um, and so I think it's just they've been able to scare people. They gaslight people with the propaganda, but then in real life, if you don't leave them alone or you don't shut up, then they're gonna do what Scientology does, which is fair game,
Right.
right? Destroy by any means possible.
It's a matter of
And it's
policy,
it's a matter of
literally, right?
policy. Yeah.
Well, and it's
You can't change it. If Elron says it, you can't change what Elron said. He's source.
well, and it's a matter of their survival, right? Because if not, then
you say so.
Well, I mean,
That's how they paint it, right? They paint that's not only their survival, sir, it's our survival. They got to save all of us.
That's true.
right.
Right.
I mean,
That's-
they exist to be able to, save us, even though we're all ungrateful.
Do you remember how heavy I'm sure you got it more so than I did. You lived in Utah. I lived in the East. I was an East Coast Mormon, so it's not quite the same. Do you remember how heavy they put it on you in the Mormon Ancient Alien Cargo Cult about salvations and saving everybody, and we're the only true church? Can you imagine what that's like within Scientology, dude? It's because it's even more aggressive, I feel like, within their business.
Oh yeah, I feel like there's no line with them, and I mean they're willing to tear you down and break you down as like fundamentally as a person, to be able to push their narrative. So I mean,
the president, Xenu's #1 guy on Earth, hired a team of hitmen, to murk his own father. So you ain't kidding, sir. They have no line.
Right.
Because it ain't this lifetime, it's every lifetime. We got to save everybody for every lifetime.
Right.
We'll do whatever we can.
Right. And you better fall in line or else. And
I just think understanding that philosophy. Exactly. I just think it's a really scary and a very spooky underlying philosophy to operate under. Spooky as in a unintelligent agency variety, but
I agree. And I think, well, I don't think, I definitely agree with you, Dana, that it seems as though they've definitely perfected gaslighting. And yeah, I mean, intimidation is like their bread and butter. And it seems like they've also perfected that as well. And then they've got, the cover of Best Friends, which, especially out here in Utah, it's actually kind of hard to find really anybody that has anything bad to say about Best Friends.
Sure.
Most everyone that you would talk to that knows Best Friends Animal Society, lots of animal people, obviously, but they just think that they're so wonderful and they do, the Lord's work protecting the animals and stuff. And it's like, well, if you only knew. If you only knew,
they financed the serial killer of dogs in Ohio. He was their chief pit bull trainer for a number of years.
Right.
His father was probably processed too.
There's a lot of animal activists that they've documented, and they do get a lot of shit for it, is that they don't like Best Friends. Best Friends numbers don't track with the income that they pull in. They're not out here rescuing animals, so what the fuck are they doing with the money? I'm not acknowledging the Beatles Tavistock bullshit from RR channel. That's the stupid thing that he brings up all the time.
On that note, ma'am. Go fuck yourself, RR.
Yes, I second that sentiment, and I'm going to say it here because I'm not on my channel. Go fuck yourself, RR. I've already answered that question.
He comes up in here asking me if I'm a believer in iron all the time. I'm like, are you stupid, dude?
What,
he's like, yeah, he's always like, hey, JJ, do you believe in FE? I'm like, dude, what is this, iron? Dude, is this the atomic element code for iron? What are you asking me if I'm believing iron for, dude? Go back
Yeah,
to
like,
Langley.
are you worried about my cell count? Like,
No,
why are we
I think he
getting into
means
medical
flat
stuff
Earth. I
here?
just like to roast him even more. You know what I mean? I think FE means flat Earth.
Okay.
He's a dumb. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh shit!
I
It's a
love
good time.
seeing him in the chat.
RR brings an element to the show that I appreciate. I appreciate his tomfoolery. Yes,
I
sir.
agree.
Go ahead.
Just I love seeing him in the chat. Brings a smile to my face.
It does, and it also speaks to the fact that it seems that CIA AI bots are active. You know, much like the process, they're everywhere.
Yeah, no kidding. And he's always here. He's almost always here.
Yeah, I caught him at Dana's chat a couple weeks ago. Has he been a frequent guest over there, Dana?
Oh, for quite some time. And he gets mad about the weirdest things. I'm like, I'm like, first off, I didn't say that the Beatles
Right.
are Tavistock. You're stretching things here a little bit. However, why are you so mad about it?
Right.
I'm sorry. Do you think that the Beatles were organic?
He tends to
I
do
hate to
that.
bust your balls.
Yeah, he could probably deserve a little bit of.
It's standard
ball busting.
Muppetry. Pretty standard Muppetry.
There you go. P. Thomas said it. The Beatles are Tavistock. It's just like, Jesus, get over
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
so,
well, you can ask RR Channel. I've already answered it. Sorry, this person pisses me off. I've already answered it, RR Channel. And there's documentation on my channel because you've come into my chat, you dick. And I don't delete my videos. Anyways, I'm done paying attention to this person now. Continue.
Well, I mean, it speaks to the process. People are everywhere, man.
Yes, they are. They
Because
are.
what is this ongoing cover up against all matters, right? Go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, what is, like, you know, if you were to try to summarize what is really going on here, like, what, you know, I did a show on this past Sundays, Operation GCD Sundays, 6 Degrees. It's my Make-A-Wish for actor Kevin Bacon. He wants to find a new patsy for the 6 Degrees game, so I offer him new patsies every month on 6 Degrees. So this one was 6 Degrees of the Process Church Never Fucking Closed in 1974. And I had 6 different examples of these propagandists from, you know, Doug, Lucy, and Greaves to Tom to everyone's favorite gardener, you know, from your schizo clip, the Process Church Anchor Baby schizo clip you did, where he's like, oh, Process, they already closed, Process. You know, all these people are saying this ridiculous statement.
Sorry,
that's the best. That's the best. No, please, that's the best impression. That's spot on. You have no idea how spot on that is.
The Process. Shut up, Manny.
That's Netflix star. You gotta watch out.
Careful.
Yeah, you guys want to know what's really ironic is that you know, so he left the country right before it premiered. I wonder why. And now that the smoke has cleared, he's magically coming back. So isn't that fascinating? And he's coming out of retirement.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that
Shocker.
up. I thought that he was done with all of this and he was leaving it behind, and
yeah, so that's again, there you go again, another great example. That speaks to what is this ongoing movement. Is it well engineered, well financed, and well organized as it appears to me?
Has to be.
Seems that way.
I mean, they have a lot of money.
Right.
They had a lot of money in those court records that they could not prove. That was one of the cornerstones of the final pages of the litigation of the lawsuit in the UK when they sat there and said, "Hoo boo boo, Ed Sanders affected our income by spreading all of these lies, and it's affected us greatly." And they could provide zero proof of any of that information.
right.
Why? Because they didn't want to show them the books. Because when you look through the newspapers, as I have, obviously, you know, they report varying amounts up to, you know, $500,000, over $1 million within a year of that lawsuit. You know, it's from selling magazines. Are you kidding me? Let's all get real here. Okay. It's not from selling magazines, guys.
Well, and I find it interesting that in the UK, Ed Sanders' book is actually not censored. Well, I guess it might be now, but and after the lawsuit,
that's a great point, sir.
wasn't.
Nope, it's still not. But that is the retelling that Tom does with Mr. Hollywood Process music producer himself, Rick Rubin, which I think Dana's got some interesting Rick Rubin connections to get into here, other than this one, but relative to some Charlie Kirk style businesses. But I have a clip from Tom and old Rick Rubin. They're trying to retell their stories of this lawsuit because they claim that Ed Sanders flew to the UK, lost the lawsuit, and somehow that's not at all. That's what I'm saying. Are they that dumb? Is Tom and Rick Rubin that dumb, or are we just to believe they're not? You know what I mean? Like, come on, hey buddy.
I think it's just a Jedi mind trick that they're trying to pull.
Well, they hope no one looks at it, right? If you look at it, you can tell they're lying.
Right.
Well, we
also should be known
know
that this Process album. What you got, ma'am? Yes.
Well, no, that Paul Hart Berger, say his full name, say his full damn name, everybody. Let's stop playing games. That Tom's researcher who has gone to Ed Sanders' archive, and that is likely where Ed Sanders got that Tom O'Neill got those references from Ed Sanders' archive, was from Paul Hart Berger, that, he's seen these records. He's seen these documents. He knows. He's out here playing dumb because he thinks that you're stupid. Rick Rubin thinks that you're stupid. And yes, it is the same Paul Hart Berger that is related to Fred Berger, who created Propaganda Magazine, who was also running in the exact same circles as Andrew Crispo.
And, ma'am, may I add, new Skinny Puppy. They did an entire edition of it because this is industrial rock. This is the stuff that Genesis P-Orridge, Mr. Neo Process, and Mr. Nazi Satanist himself, Boyd Rice, they were the ones who created that culture, the genre. So this is dedicated to that genre. And also, Mr. Paul Hart Berger likes to work on the bastardization of Maury Terry's work with James Franco, does he not?
That he does on the set of The Deuce.
Fancy.
And it's interesting that Paul Hart Berger is the common thread from James Franco acquiring Maury Terry's research files to Josh Zeman, to the Gardener, to Tom O'Neill. And then you have to wonder, why does Paul Hart Berger call Ed Sanders Ed Satanic Panic Sanders? Why do these people feel so comfortable talking shit about these two authors? If there's nothing connecting the Manson case and the Son of Sam case, why do you guys protest so much?
Right.
Yeah,
if y'all really don't know each other. So, and again, the idea that James Franco's project, obviously I don't know the machinations of what went on there, but it seems to me that Maury Terry did not sign over the rights in order for James Franco to make the satanic shit show, to the gay S&M scene that's told in the Son of Sam. This is part of the cult's activities. That's what the Deuce is dedicated to. Meanwhile, he makes a YouTube show series called The Ultimate Evil. Well, Maury Terry's the bad guy and dies at the end.
Yeah, but there's also some really interesting takeaways there. Also, that like Wheat was one of the killers, which I think is really fascinating. There's some little curveballs in there that I'm like, oh, is that big-breasted Wendy? Because it sounds like big-breasted Wendy just saying. I don't know. I mean, it's a bastardization of their work, and they don't want people to notice. And like you said, the machinations of all of these things, step by step, who knows? But the fact that these things have been documented, that these individuals are absolutely connected, they do know each other, they gaslight the shit out of you, even when you see them in each other's chats, or you see them on interviews together, whatever the case may be. That's enough information right there to give people pause. Why do they have so much invested in these two separate cases if there's nothing connecting them? It's not morbid curiosity. It's because there's not a statute of limitation on fucking murder. Do you know how many members of the family are still alive right now? Quite a few. Quite a few of the original members of the family from Manson. There's a lot of people connected to the Son of Sam that are still alive.
There's a few Process folks living the high life too. Oh, go ahead, ma'am. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, there is. There's still founding members of the Process that are alive. Some of them have tried to fucking stalk me and put hexes on me because there's some old hag witches in that group. I'm just saying, these people are still alive. There is something to be said about why would they still do this? We're just out here feeding into satanic panic, spoopy bullshit. No, we're
Yeah.
not. There's not a statute of limitations on murder. It is what it
Right.
is. Why do you think that when the FBI comes in, when there's a big crime, as soon as the word cult is uttered, the FBI comes in and shitcoats the whole thing? It's
Shut
because
it down.
the concept of a cult being involved in any of these types of crimes immediately opens the door to a larger criminal organization that very likely its financial conduits are illegal and would involve snuff, porn, gun trafficking, drug trafficking, things of that sort. And they don't want to deal with that because they know that there's a very high likelihood that they know people that are involved in that network. And that's why the FBI comes in to shut it
Yeah.
down.
Well, and that
They
also
can't
opens up
investigate themselves,
RICO.
man. How dare they?
No.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a network that opens up RICO, which
That
would be
too.
devastating, you know.
That too.
Yeah, despite that
What-
being a law, no one likes to use RICO. Task Force, RICO, these are not
Right.
terms that folks like in law enforcement.
Right.
They like the opposite of that. If you suggest these things, you're out of here, buddy.
Right.
But speaking of these
Right.
retellings, I mean, it is interesting to note how Tom does retell these matters, Tom O'Neill with Rick Rubin, because as we'll hear in a second clip I have as well, Rick Rubin's house, where Skinny Puppy did the Process album that he produced, Boyd Rice and Genesis Pures were present for that. Not just William Morrison, the bassist, who later became the number 2 for the Satanic Temple. So these people all fucking know each other. You know what I mean?
100%.
Then, of course, the Manson family, people believe that they were somehow being manipulated or influenced by the Process Church, which was a satanic church that kind of blossomed in the hate in 67.
What do I know about them? I don't know anything about them.
Oh, gosh. Well, they began in England in like 64, 65, and it was about 20 or 30 Satanists who, you know, were patriarchal. The men were the bosses, the women were slaves. It was communal free sex.
Were they hippies?
No, they were like intellectuals. I spent a lot of time looking into the possibility that they somehow influenced Manson. I could never find anything solid, so I kind of walked away from it. I'm not fresh with the information, but what's interesting is Ed Sanders wrote, the first book about the case was called, his book, The Family. He was reporting on it for the LA Free Press, kind of the underground paper. It came out about a year and a half before Helter Skelter. Sanders had a whole chapter basically saying the process, Manson learned a lot of his mind control and powers from the Process Church and Scientology. So the Process sued him successfully in England, and Sanders had to go over there and testify, and they ended up taking out the chapter from the subsequent copies of, it was ordered removed. And you can
By
get
who?
it by the, well, actually the publisher thought since they were successful in England, they're going to do, they threatened to do it in the States, which is harder to do. I know that because
It's an
Liar.
odd retelling of history, ma'am,
Liar.
is it not?
It's lies. It's all fucking lies. That interview
Fake
makes me
news.
so
Fake
angry.
news.
It makes me so angry. And I mean, you guys literally just heard Rick Rubin himself go, the process? I've
Right.
never heard of
I've never
that
heard of the
before.
process.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, dude. Yeah, and he's a bad liar too.
He's
Well,
the
also,
easiest person
let's-
to point to say he's obviously heard of the process. They could get anyone else to do that interview, right? Are they that dumb?
Right.
Well, they think that
Well, they-
everybody else is that
right.
dumb.
I
They
was
prove
just gonna
that
say
by
that.
by doing these things. They think that you're stupid. Quit thinking that they have an educated audience. They think that their audience is dumb and that people are not going to make these connections because yes, we have all this stuff with Skinny Puppy, with, you know, Topi, Genesis Peorage, but also there's 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor. You know, who takes the door that says
Yup.
pig on it as some
Yup.
sort of sick memento? It's because just like Nicholas Schreck, Barry with no hair, not good hair,
Barry.
that, you know, these people think that, you know, they can do this revisionist history and pretend that they're not a bunch of Mansonites. They are.
Right.
But people need to understand, because this is in the INS report. I've shown it. The symbols, like the little Nazi looking symbols that the girls sewed on their prison outfits during the trial. according to the
Yup.
LAPD and INS, those were process symbols. And that's what the girls
Typical.
told the guards in the jail, is that they were sewing process symbols onto their clothing, not fucking swastikas.
Isn't that interesting?
That's a great point, ma'am. That's often ignored and trying to say that, oh, it's just nothing. There's no connections. We heard it there. Oh, Tom's, I looked for 20 years. I couldn't find nothing. And also, Gerald Hall, I do
Right.
appreciate the conspiracy theories here on Halloween. They think I'm RR channel in disguise. And that's my
Well,
Halloween
then
costume.
we're going to fight after this because I have a problem with your questions.
Got a real beef to pick with you.
What, Dana, what is Tom O'Neill's like official reasoning for skipping out on anything in the process for his book?
Well, it's interesting. So when you read his book, and you can do the Control F search because it's in the Wayback, he mentions Scientology 2 times, one in Passivity, a weird story about like Tom Cruise, and then just again in Passivity that Manson, dabbled in Scientology, I think is the exact term that he said. But actually, Tom O'Neill, even though most of that book focuses on his parole officer who also worked at the clinic, Roger Smith was documenting up until one of the final parole reports how Charlie was sitting there saying how much Scientology had helped him, that he was starting to understand the problems in his life and was becoming a better person, able to cope with certain things. So why did Tom omit Scientology? Is it because of the emails that I've shown that I probably shouldn't have of them communicating with the Office of Special Affairs, the church's CIA of today, about Manson? Maybe. And then we have to go into the process part of it, because according to Tom, what he has said is that it's not to his satisfaction. Well, what is his satisfaction? Because that book is so heavily based on the sins of Roger Smith and David Smith, right? But he feels entitled to omit to the public that Scientology, that he wasn't really into Scientology. Well, how do you explain the E-meter or P-scope that was found at fucking Spawn Ranch during the raid? How do you explain that? Because that's not only... Huh?
Or Doug's P-scope or email.
Well, yeah, at the temple, the temple headquarters.
Explain all of these matters.
Right.
The continuity of these activities, right?
Correct, because Doug has said that he wants to, he believes that he can perfect.
We see William Morrison, his number 2 there in the temple.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, what level of what level of verifiable information does Tom need, if that is his excuse, which is bullshit? But I mean, like, how much verifiable evidence does he actually need to where that's no longer a valid excuse? Because I mean, all you have to do is just look at your work for 5 seconds to be able to see how connected all of this is.
There is no reason and there is no excuse. It's obfuscation or omission.
There's probably no level of evidence, right?
It's on purpose. I'm tired of people giving the guy a pass. It's he's built this whole narrative of it took me 20 years. Really, it took you 20 years? Let's go through the fucking footnotes, Tom, of all the shit that you took from Ed Sanders. And I get, yes, you did glean some valuable information, especially about the guys that I like to call the 4, the drug running Canadian sort of outfit that's involved. But it's not to say that you throw the book out. You take out what you can verify, but a lot of that information was also...
Am I cutting out?
No, you're here.
No, yeah, you're here. You're good. Your video's
good. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I got a lag issue. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay.
Super wonky right now. Go ahead. I apologize.
There's information in those LAPD homicide progress reports where they're doing these updates where, they're talking about going down to Jamaica and, investigating who's on the lease and what the dates the lease was changed. Like, he did glean some valuable information, but to just completely omit and try to do this shit coat of, it was the CIA, it was MK Ultra. It's like the craziest angle that this has turned into because of chaos and because of Tom is now like MK Ultra mind control is totally like normal and we can talk about it, but
Right.
guess what? We still can't talk about the fucking process. Why?
Right. And that's
Well,
really
and
telling to me in the book. That's what I tell folks is like it's telling to me what's left out. The known knowns of what's left out. There's no mention of MI6. The
Yep.
process is no mentions. So I would assert it's a joint venture, MI6 CIA. And when you're going to call out the CIA in the book, well, I think we know who's behind the Chaos book. At least we can start looking in one direction.
Right.
You know what I mean? And maybe the CIA is also involved in this limited hangout type of environment. You know, a tricky dickism, if you will, the limited hangout. That came from
Right.
Watergate, but
This is entirely indicative of a disinformation agent. You know,
Correct.
sure.
there is some good
Hire a
information,
queen, compromised person.
but right, but there, you know, he releases some true information,
Yup.
some good information, but also shit information, and good luck finding out. You know,
Right.
Well, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't feel so strongly about this if one of his researchers was a little too friendly with sharing emails that he probably shouldn't have shared, and then me figuring out who he was, and I'm like, well, fuck this. I have
Yup.
no loyalties to you people because
right?
now I know
Fuck
that
'em.
Tom has seen Ed's files. He's seen the same things that I have seen and has seen the same
Right.
witness reports, informant reports, INS reports, all these police reports. It is what it is because there's two things that people don't want to talk about in connection to that case in particular. And the two things are snuff and the process. Those are the two things that
Right.
nobody wants to talk about. Now, there are some people that don't really want to talk about the drug trafficking and drug manufacturing. That's not
Sure.
primarily the
It's
focus.
unsavory conversations for normal polite society, ma'am. That's
Yeah,
that's
well-
kind of why these things persist, right? Because if you're not going to talk about it and they closed in 1974, then what are we talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
what's the point? What am I so upset over?
Well, I
Right.
think that's one thing I certainly enjoy. Not that I enjoy listening to about things about snuff films and sex with dogs and stuff, but you do point out a lot of these aspects, the known knowns of the process and these cult member activities that do persist over time, and I presume persist still today.
Yeah,
The snuff,
well, I mean,
the dog rapings, that kind of thing.
yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Rolling savory
it's
bunch.
it is. I mean, you can't tell me that it's a coincidence that Jerzy Kaczynski, an actual supervillain who raped his friend's dog violently, happened
Yikes.
to bring the process to Yale to teach a class on death, where they come into the classroom at Yale and say, "Oh yeah, we were involved in the Manson crimes." This is the same man, Jerzy Kaczynski, who introduced Abigail Folger to Wojciech Frykowski, the same Jerzy Kaczynski who was very good friends with Roman Polanski, the same Jerzy Kaczynski who was friends with, what is her name? I think it's Ava Roosevelt, who was also a good friend of Roman
Yeah.
Polanski's, who happened to turn off of Cielo Drive at 11:45 that night because her gas tank light came on. Oh,
Oh.
girl. You're risking it for the biscuit with that timeline there because the timeline is still very muddy on when the murders occurred.
That's for
Right.
damn certain. No, that's for damn certain. The stuff they use for anchor points in their timeline are bullshit.
Yep.
So you've hit on a couple points I've really been focusing on as of late relative to these topics, and that is the epicenter of activity in the financial matters at the onset of the process here in America, that is, in 67, and the Church of Satan in April of 66. Lo and behold, they have the same epicenter of activity, and they fucking know each other.
Yep.
And on top of that, Ava Roosevelt, her husband, was an early member of the Church of Satan, the grandson of not William. What's that Muppet's name? Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yep. That is correct.
And
Yeah.
this is the point where I would like to, bring up my favorite David McGowan quote. Is
Yeah.
how many coincidences does it take to make a conspiracy?
That's
Correct.
for damn certain.
And it's
That man was
like,
right.
God, that's got to be put on a t-shirt. Maybe I'll do that. But
That's
like,
what I'm saying. What's the
it-
need to
it's
ever
all
attack
bait.
McGowan, right? With the Keno, right? Or, all of
Right.
Ed Sanders' work with Tom and all this other stuff with besmirching Maury Terry and his efforts. I always like to say, just on its face, there's no reason to attack these men unless they were right.
Correct.
Exactly. And what's interesting to me, as much as I see people attack Program to Kill, I rarely see so much like attention put on Laurel Canyon, which is weird to me. Like the disparity between criticizing and it's like, well, if he really was wrong about, Program to Kill, then why aren't these people also criticizing Laurel Canyon weird scenes
Right.
as much?
Right.
It's just
And why can I take you're spot on, sir. And why can I take the precise framework and salient characteristics he identifies in weird scenes inside the canyon from the hippie countercultural in the 60s and apply it to the grunge rock countercultural approximately 30 years later when it hit the mainstream, at least for grunge. And they're the precise same scenes with the precise same folks. These people, they know each other. They fucking know each other.
Right. And I'm still looking for that connection with Dylan Carlson, but I'm pretty sure it's there somewhere. It has to be.
Yeah, you were mentioning that recently, sir, and I do want to talk about that. I don't know where we want to go next here with the Charlie Kirk stuff. I figured we go that next, and maybe we'll end with some of that Dylan Carlson stuff because I like your style, sir. I think I responded to your Twixter statements on that, where we got to talk more shop on this.
Oh, for sure.
Well, before we get into the Kirk stuff, I would like to point out something which I am going to include in the next podcast episode. But I was given a lead on a doctor that was at the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic. His name is Dr. Peter G. Bourne. And Dr. Peter G. Bourne, he was working for... It was military intelligence under Walter Reed in Vietnam, and I think he was under McBundy. And while he was over there, he became an expert in drug trafficking. He was working for Air America, and at that time, his job was to profile because they were drugging the local population, and he was monitoring how special forces were reacting to the environment. His job, according to fucking Congress, to congressional records, he took that profile and recreated it to format the drug scene out of Haight-Ashbury. So for people who want to say that Dave McGowan was wrong, go fuck yourself, because Congress would disagree, because this came out in 77 when Jimmy Carter was proposing this, drug abuse prevention, sort of this new thing. And Dr. Peter G. Bourne was the first director under Jimmy Carter, which is ironic. And there was a lot of pushback from the Labor Party in particular, where they said he was working at the clinic when Manson was a patient. And they said his job was to recreate that environment in Vietnam, which is directly connected to the Phoenix program, taking the Phoenix program and putting it into the Haight-Ashbury scene. So what Dave McGowan said about domestic Phoenix, stateside Phoenix, domestic Gladio, that is what it is. And it's been proven in the congressional record. These are people that saw the writing on the wall with this shit way back then. So it's not a conspiracy theory. The stuff lays out as it lays out. But in regards to the Charlie Kirk stuff, so it's real strange. I guess we'll just start here. So Echo Cat had
dive right in.
Yeah, let's just dive right in. So Candy Ass Candace, Echo Cat, had sent me a clip where she said that she feels that Rick Rubin was sent in to be her handler, and she was too smart to figure it out, but doesn't, she acknowledges Mappin, but doesn't think that
Rick
Mappin
Rubin,
is her handler.
Is this the... Is it, if I may, is this the same? This is the same Rick Rubin we just heard from with Tom.
Correct. This is process. Yes, Candace is saying that process Rick Rubin approached her.
Just checking.
When that didn't work, who came in behind him? Corporate process, aka Scientology. The corporate process.
They beam you in Xenu's finest, right? They got to beam them right in there, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like a tractor beam.
Zoltan. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's my favorite clip when I think about Scientology. I think about that Where's My Car clip. Zoltan.
It's
I can picture all of these Muppets wearing those little bubble suits, talking about jumping on some comments.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. The fact that she won't sit there and acknowledge that, sorry, girl, looks like you have an arranged marriage with George Farmer because you have, John Mappin introducing you to your husband. It's the guy that was in Epstein, the only Scientologist that I can find in Epstein's Black Book, introduced you to your husband. Okay, weird. Whatever you say, girl.
Strange.
Did
that's
you guys...
an often overlooked... Oh, go ahead, sir.
I was going to ask real quick if you guys have seen the most recent photos of Erica Kirk and JD Vance together and how strange those photos were.
Oh,
First of all, I'm JJ Vance. I'm not the vice president. I just want to clear up any confusions. Please continue.
are you talking about the future first lady
Remember that-
and next president post coup
Yes.
d'etat?
2028
Yeah.
ticket.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
photos.
don't vote for me, 2028.
I still might vote for you, but I'll just write you in. But yeah, those photos of Erica and JD Vance were incredibly close for friends. You know,
Kind of
I've
weird.
I've never put my fingers in the hair of a friend when
What,
I'm
dude?
hugging
That's
them.
not normal. You don't do that.
No.
You don't like
I
stroke
don't.
their head very gently
don't.
and tenderly and try to comfort them in their time of
No,
grief, and it's not
no.
weird at all. Well, did you notice how upset JD Vance's wife looked? She
Yes.
kind of went total like dead eyes when he was like, "Well, my wife is atheist, but I'm trying to get her to believe in something."
Right.
What a
Right.
weird couple, right? So she's I don't think she's Brahmin. She's not Brahmin class, right? But she's Indian, you know, being
Right.
Don Casino.
It's
Right.
too
And
much.
they converted to Catholicism. Is that correct? After they got married, right? They got married. He
Vance
wasn't Catholic.
did.
She was whatever, right?
She's still Hindu.
She's
Oh.
atheist, according to what JD Vance said on stage yesterday or the day before yesterday.
Oh,
Right.
Holy smokes! All right, well, fair enough.
Yeah. I'm
So
just
he's
like,
Catholic, there, right? He went
Yeah.
Catholic, right? Okay.
That's what he says.
This is a weird move. Go north
Allegedly.
of 40, going Catholic or Mormon for that matter. Glenn Beck, I'm looking at you. It's pretty bizarre. So that's what I'm saying. Around this whole conservative movement that Candace erupts from and her Jewish porn producing manager, they got her launch in, and then obviously Daily Wire, etc. She's got a weird amount of characters she's around it in. A lot of Mormons, though. A lot of Mormons, a lot of Scientologies are pointing out there as well in that mix.
Right.
but people think that she's organic. People also
Totally
actually
organic.
think that she's out here risking things to talk about and
Mhm.
investigate Charlie's death. Let's get one thing perfectly fucking clear. Her husband is George Farmer. Her husband owns Parlor. She's also very, vocally Catholic. She has the blessing of the royal family who is connected to
Right.
the Catholic Church. Please don't get it twisted. She's not out here risking anything. And the fact that she comes out and shows these alleged, not Photoshop, text messages between her and Charlie, where Charlie is saying that he feels like he's going to die. And maybe he was having a crisis of faith. I don't know. He was very young, under a lot of pressure. I'm not judging him on that. But her showing this text message where she's going to be the one to take over everything.
Yeah.
Bitch,
yeah.
get the fuck out of here.
That she was going to be.
She's
the,
married to a
savior.
lord.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
He's going to inherit the peership.
Correct.
That's interesting. And if we can just pause this for one moment, this is the game I like to play here. This is a great time for it, at least. It's a good segue. My favorite game on Fridays here, ma'am. I'm sure the other JJ's already familiar with this. He was just here last Fridays. So at least it's fresh in his memory, his brain holes there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
who is your daddy and what does he do?
You tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do?
Any thoughts on that one, ma'am? Or other JJ?
Before we get too deep, if you want to bring up that picture that I have pulled up, I think this is the weirdest photo. So Erica, for all the
bizarre.
blind viewers, she is standing on a casket in front of JD Vance, and JD
Face
Vance
full of titties, bro.
yeah, like Like
That's what I'm saying, dude. He's burying his face in
what
things. Is he
is-
motorboating? That's a motorboating son of a bitch.
Look at it. Look
My
where his
cousin's one
hands are.
motorboating son of a bitch. You're right. I didn't even know these things,
And
sir.
she is standing on a casket. Like, what the hell
You
is
motorboating
this?
son of a bitch.
Like,
You're right. That is a creepy fucking photo. Speaking of spooky, that one takes the cake so far.
right. And so, like, everyone's seen the other one where, like, her hand is up in his hair and stuff. But I think this is the one that everyone should be saying what the fuck
Yeah,
about,
I
because
don't disagree, sir.
what
I don't
the
disagree.
fuck?
And Gerald
then
Hall,
look-
right on point. That son
look
of
at
a
the
bitch. is a
shadow too. It
motorboating
looks,
SOB.
God, like the shadow looks weird. Like all of
Yeah,
this
what
seems
is this?
highly
What
staged.
Muppet world do we live in, sir?
The shadow's really weird, man. The shadow looks like she's pregnant. Oh God.
Right. And pregnant in a weird manner too, because that's like way far up. But yeah, all of this is just weird.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
if this is not proof that we live in, this Muppet world that
world.
is scripted,
Absolutely.
like they really think we're this fucking dumb. They really hate us and they really think we are this dumb. And I would
don't
not
disagree,
be
sir.
surprised. I would not be surprised if JD Vance gets divorced and ends up getting with Erica Kirk, because that would be, that would be the machine's like ideal couple, especially if he's going to be the next president, which it's kind of looking like. So, I mean,
I do. I think you're onto something, sir. I like where your brain hole's at. I can assure you, we live in a Muppet world, sir. And in that Muppet world, we don't know who this man's father is. And in fact, I looked in further into his claims that he is the 13th Baron of Argyle. This Muppet can go fuck himself, whether he's alive or dead today. I'm not sure. But he was indeed, this is the official baronage from the Lord of Lions in Scotland. He was indeed the inherited seat of the Clan Campbell, Duke of Argyle. In fact, the Baron of Roshane.
damn.
Yeah.
Now, he was excommunicated from this baronage. This is the official Scottish baronage site. Authenticated baron dead, according to them, allegedly. Blacklisted due to immoral contact. Well, what'd you do there, Muppet Mikey? I thought you were innocent. You know what I mean? You didn't do nothing.
Right.
How
Man,
dare he besmirch Clan Campbell? I don't know. I haven't sorted out the particulars. I am a Campbell
Right.
of those same Campbells of Argyle. So sadly, I have to call him Ken. Apparently, how he got appointed as a baronage of anything. Who's he blowing? What is going on in this Muppet world? And who's his father? What did he do?
Well,
Yeah.
I think I've laid out a pretty strong argument that Hubbard is absolutely his father, and I will die on that hill until proven otherwise. But I do think that he's dead. I mean, there's litigation that's
Right.
been going on over his estate from one of his children with a Lilith. It's
Do people think he's still alive?
yeah, there's a lot of people that think that that whole
Really?
thing was faked, and I'm like, why would the death certificate
Well-
say that he shot himself? That's really weird, Was
Right.
it, did he shoot himself or did someone else shoot him? I don't know, but I mean,
That's my
there-
question, ma'am. You got it right there. I'd like to see more details, but it is weird to the points that folks made some conspiracy theories around it. He was dead a year before it was announced, right?
Well, correct, and that was because of the temple. The temple was not releasing any information. The temple
Oh.
was keeping it very hush hush. And in regards to the
Right.
litigation with his children against Lilith, I think that that's probably why. Is because, Lilith's on her own. She's an old lady. Am I sitting here exonerating her of anything? No, absolutely not. But she's also an old woman at this point, right? And so
Right.
it was probably the temple's attempt to protect her from harassment, things of that sort, just because they knew once this got out, it was going to be, it was going to be juicy. It was going to be hot. But why would that be falsified as far as the manner of death? I mean, in my personal opinion, they say, well, he had cancer, and it's like, yeah, well, he had cancer, but there's easier ways to take yourself out when you have cancer. That's why
No
I don't
kidding.
think that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I think that somebody else maybe came in and took care of him.
Well, and well,
And that's your department. Looking into this department to try to hopefully get some. I was plotting on perhaps requesting some documents in regard to any kind of investigatory matters, call to service reports, whatever. Whatever I get my hands on there. But that's a weird department. The police chief's under a lot of scrutiny right now. He lives in Boise, Idaho.
I saw that today, which is how the hell are you traveling
I was
600
like,
plus
whoa, dude,
miles
that-
to work?
Yeah, dude. And what? So that's San Mateo. That's already where I was looking.
Right.
I was already looking into those matters when I saw that on. You've seen that? Are you my brain hole, sir?
No, I
So,
think it's just
you
a
know,
JJ thing.
You're right. It might be a JJ thing. So, but it does. It speaks to the weird nature of that entire environment out there, where Anton
Right.
LaVey was also a badge-carrying member, allegedly, from the years of the San Francisco PD, just north of San Mateo, there, from 1952 or 51, I believe it was, until his death in 1997, I believe.
That's wild.
There was reports in the 80s and 90s that he still was a badge-carrying member of the San Francisco PD.
I mean, kind of wouldn't surprise me, you know.
Yeah.
Once you're in the club, you're always in the club. There's no such thing as ex-CIA, you know. You're just like retired, you know. I think you can get kicked out of the club, but you've got to do something like really bad.
Well, they'll kick you out, sir. Yeah, you got to have a moral or ethical compass. That's what you have to do to get kicked out of the club.
Well, Hubbard was a member of the LAPD as far back as the 40s. Hubbard was a member of that. Why do people think
definitely
that
my brain hole, ma'am. You're definitely my brain hole. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, like why do people think that LAPD is so deep in bed with Scientology? It's because Hubbard got in there because he knew that he needed to seize on the moment, you know.
Yeah, so who's gonna investigate themselves, right?
No, that's why, like, when people are sitting there like, oh, the FBI and Cash App Patel are gonna expose 764 and the Order of Nine Angles. I'm like, oh, they're going to investigate their own Fed hives? Get the fuck out of here.
Right. And also they're about 10 years too late. You know, it's like
It's their own people in there. It's the same thing with like the Proud Boys, you know, like why do you think that these things don't actually get investigated? It's because these things are not organic and because it's infiltrated the feds.
Right.
Colby's queers.
Exactly.
The ongoing matters of terrorizing domestic terror of Americans, Operation Gladio style, largely connected to that Aryan Nations compound in northern Idaho.
Just another coincidence.
Strange, right? Weird.
Yeah, and then you get into Idaho 4, and it's the Aryan Nights, and
then you get into Cocaine Bob, and then we get right back to the Manson situation because the folks running point for the propaganda against Brian Kohberger is none other than Cocaine Bob's underling. One who ran Vanity Fair for many years and then started a weird periodical called Airmail, immediately employed Howard Bloom, that Muppet, to start writing all this propaganda, all of which proved to be false. And then the media just ran with Howard Bloom's statements, and Graydon Carter is famously one of Bob Cocaine's closest associates. When Cocaine Bob needed to do his life story, he hired Graydon Carter to be the executive producer.
Well, and let's not forget, there's also
we have the Gooch factor.
There's a whole other side of this as well, with the connection to Daryl Gates and the DARE program and certain organizations.
If we can just put a pin in that real quick, sir. Is there a burger element to all this?
A what element?
A burger element to all this?
Yeah.
I'm just No, I like where your brain hole's at, sir. But to get to LAPD, let me give you these two offerings from Idaho. You got Mark Furman, the Nazi felon, telling everyone on Fox News, he's the Fox News guy for Idaho 4, telling everyone Brian Kohberger did it. He's connected to that Aryan Nations compound dating back to the 80s, according to the LAPD Internal Affairs, which is why he got fired for all these kind of activities of a Nazi nature. But then you have the Gooch factor. She's the Idaho State Police detective, State Police, their detective, their Muppet, who was integral and all throughout the case, but no one knew it for over 2 years until they started unsealing things. She was the one who did the interviews with the surviving roommate, Dylan Mortensen, creating the bushy eyebrows, the balaclava. Well, her father was the underling to Lieutenant Colonel Paul Tate, U.S. Army Intelligence. In fact, by her own admission, her father went undercover with Paul Tate in December of 1969 in the hippie movement in San Francisco to investigate the murder of his daughter Sharon Tate at the hands of the Manson family. So why is that lady so involved in the framing of Kohberger on the back end, and then on the front end we got Bob's underling, Graydon Carter? So, but LAPD is a connecting factor. Why are they so connected to Idaho?
Well, I mean, you got to think that's all fantastic drug trafficking routes, right? it all tracks. And we know the Aryan Brotherhood, especially in relation to the Manson case, Charlie was essentially ordering the girls to, get into bed, get into relationships, get married to members of the Aryan Brotherhood to create this sort of alliance. And then members of the Aryan Brotherhood, when they would be released, they would also join the family as they left the prison. So, there's an old relationship there that goes to their actual belief system. And then also just the criminal element of it. It's these things, obviously that's not like the only trafficking area, but, in the modern day iterations, it's, especially this activity around Idaho, like the high intensity drug trafficking area, the HIDTA, like it's all shady as hell. And this is the same thing that you see with the Delphi case. It's the exact same thing. There's a cult involved in the Delphi case. It's like people want to sit here and ignore these elements and buy into these mainstream narratives. And you got one of the biggest shit coders, Brian Enton, who's now announcing that he's going to start looking at the Smiley Face Killers network. And I'm like, here we go. Here we go. Here comes the shit coat.
Hey, more process shit, right? More satanic serial killing. Not, it's my assertion that's deeply connected within this industrial rock movement. They use the same symbolism. The smiley face is a chaos symbol within both the smiley face killer cult and the industrial rock movement. And weird, seems to be a strange crossover with industrial rock bands in some of those murders. Just saying.
Yep.
So I was told to dare to keep my brain hole off drugs, ma'am. And the man that did that was in fact a Colby Queer. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daryl
Gates, who created a division of the LAPD when he was in charge of the LAPD called the Public Disorder Intelligence Division, the PDID, which ended up getting in trouble with the California Supreme Court because it basically turned into an intelligence organization that was just as successful and just as large and just as well funded as like the CIA and FBI. And in fact, they actually had LAPD officers literally all over the world running around doing intelligence for the LAPD. And eventually they ended up getting sued. So what Daryl Gates actually ended up doing is privatizing this division of the LAPD into an organization called the Western Goals Foundation, which of course has ties to Oliver North and Iran-Contra. So,
yeah, and he takes over in 79 in LAPD. So, like, you were saying, Dana, that old Elron had himself a badge there in LAPD. So, like, I often wonder where when these things they're uninvestigated, any kind of matters relative to Scientology, the process, we see, card-carrying members of intelligence agencies with Aquino and a lot of his folks within the Temple of Set, LaVey with his badge of the SFPD, Elron, LAPD. That at some point in time, these matters like you're describing with Daryl Gates, a legend today within the SWAT communities. I was a teenage SWAT team leader in my misspent youth. And he was definitely a legend. They mentioned it at every school, academy, and course I took. So
well,
he's kind of the inventor of it.
Here's what's even crazier. So after the Western Goals Foundation, basically took over, mind you, they had 1 million intelligence files on just random people, right? So with all of this information, the Supreme Court of California tried to get them to disband and everything. And Daryl Gates basically came in, told the Supreme Court, no, go fuck yourselves. I'm going to do what I want, but I'll take it private. Yep. So that continued on. But then when he was still in the LAPD, they needed a way to get into the schools because what they were doing is they were putting in like undercovers in the schools, to push drugs, sell drugs, but also to bust drug dealers. And that ended up getting challenged through the California Supreme Court as well. And so they came up with the DARE program, which is incredibly interesting because it was actually, the DARE program was actually a partnership between the LAPD and the Rotary Club, which, what the fuck?
Kill Bill sirens. Whoop, whoop.
That's an excellent point, sir. That is an excellent point. What the fuck? Right. And on that note, I'd like to hold that thought.
Scum! Scum! Go back to where you're from! Get it together! Scum! 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 Go back the hell out of here! Go home! Scum! Pigs! Sorry I'm late. Who goes there? Henry Himmler. What Clavin claimed you? California Clavin, Cucamonga. California? Yeah, I was just passing through town and looking for something to do this evening. There was nothing going on at the Rotary Club. I heard about this. Well, welcome, Henry. I'm the Grand Kleagle. Oh. California thing. Pig! Face! Scum!
Heard about it down at the Rotary Club.
Right.
Classic
Love
Fletch.
that.
There was a question in the comments there section about who is Cocaine Bob Evans. I figured no better way to introduce him till Dana's schizo clip. Bob Evans for breakfast.
One of my favorites. One of my favorites.
My name is Robert.
Whoa. Technical difficulties.
God, that's such a great clip.
I think you probably not going to believe me, man, but I think that's one of the most epic videos I've ever seen. There's no better way in which to describe the life and crimes of Cocaine Bob Evans with a heavy murder and cocaine motif that you added throughout the entire clip. It's the best. I think that's the best summary of the man's life.
Thank you.
I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I'm not trying to blow smoke anywhere. I'm a big Cocaine Bob fan. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but and a fan in the sense he's my favorite Muppet to roast sometimes. And people don't pay attention to him because he literally got busted for trafficking cocaine, did no time, and he got busted for murking folks along with the head of the Medellin cartel. She went to prison. He walked. That's weird.
Yeah, he also liked getting peed on by teenagers.
Yeah, you heard them tales, right? Yeah. He once built an. Apparently, I had some inside sources tell me one time. If you want to tell some spooky tales about Cocaine Bob, he had apparently built an intricate slide system, multi-level, like 15 feet tall, maybe I believe, something like that. A slide, so he'd hire hookers to go poop up on top of the slide, and his mouth would be at the bottom of that slide.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
That's the degradation of this cult. I say that story to make that point. You know, it is a disgusting thing.
Sick fucks.
They are. Yeah, it's like, oh, well, so you're a pedophile because you're, soliciting underage girls and then asking them to pee on you. Isn't that nice? We're just dealing with the high class of society.
Very unsavory bunch.
It bothers me just like how normal it is for them. It's just no big deal. Whatever.
That's the point of it, though, right?
Normal for everybody, right?
Right.
That's the point of it. They're trying to normalize that kind of stuff. It's not weird. They're just into it. You're not allowed to kink shame. I would highly disagree. I'm out here and I'm kink shaming everybody. You should feel
100%.
shame. It's healthy for the soul and the spirit. Feel fucking shame. You should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Okay?
If you
especially if your kink is banging dogs, because that seems to be like, so we don't as one thing I like to point out, the epicenter of activity around these matters and the dog banging, of course, we see that with the Manson family. It persists over time around these cult matters. And the first person to do the above ground pornography, Deep Throat, strange name for the film in 1972 at the same time of that whole Nixon affair of Deep Throat. Weird. But that's financed by the Colombo crime family, we know, and they're deeply related to Cocaine Bob. They produced The Godfather with him. Nonetheless, it premieres at a Process Theater, right? The Pussycat Theater that Deep Throat film does. Now, Linda Lovelace was famously known for banging German Shepherds. And she's from that den of iniquity known as Westchester County, New York. Isn't that weird?
Correct. And, she was also present with Sharon Tate's younger sister and Bernie Kornfeld's harem at Gray Hall Mansion.
What? Say what, ma'am? Can you repeat? Can you speak that one in the mic again, ma'am? I think you just blew up my brain hole. What was that?
So her, along with a couple other famous models, but Sharon Tate's younger sister as well, they were a part of Bernie Kornfeld's harem at Gray Hall Mansion. The same Bernie Kornfeld of iOS, Vesco, Robert Vesco, Contra, that guy. Yeah, that same guy. So it's very interesting. He actually consulted Hugh Hefner on how to properly set up a filtration system for his grotto, because he also had a grotto as well. They were doing some really nasty stuff over at Bernie's house too. But I
If
mean,
I'm not
hey, Hugh
mistaken-
Hefner, huh?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Hugh Hefner
We're saying the
also,
same things. I was going to say Hugh Hefner also, so go ahead. We're saying the
yeah,
same thing.
Hugh Hefner liked to bang dogs too. And in the podcast episode, I'm sorry, it was the worst thing to ever record in my life. But his son, I had to read it, because if I have to read it, you have to hear it. His son wrote
There
an
you go.
entire diatribe about how he wished that he could fuck his dog instead of his girlfriend. This is Hugh Hefner's son. He wrote this like 2 years ago.
Yep.
I'm just saying, these people brag about this stuff because they want it to be normal. They want you to not
Yep.
shame them. And that's why kink shame everybody.
Well, I'm
You know-
convinced that's a great point, ma'am. I'm also convinced you're my brain hole, because that was the exact point I was going to make. And I'll give you a little bookend on that spooky, disgusting tale. And that is, Hugh Hefner famously had Linda Lovelace. Linda Lovelady. What's her name?
Lovelace.
Lady. Why do I keep wanting to call her Lovelady? I rename people too much. Lovelace. He had her over to the Playboy Mansion and was championing her ability to bang dogs, specifically German Shepherds. That's weird. The breed. I mean, it's all weird. But I'm just saying, oh, weird German Shepherds, huh? But he famously was impressed with her. He's like, I've hired a lot of women to try to bang a dog around here, and you're the first one to be able to successfully do it. So he was thoroughly, because he liked banging dogs himself.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
allegedly he had a huge collection of bestiality. Yeah, I mean that
I'm not surprised.
just allegedly,
I'm not.
but you know that was apparently bestiality films and snuff
No
films.
shit.
So
Common theme.
right, and
That's a
you know
That's a great comment there, sir. If I may, hold on one second there, other JJ. Diane
Yes, it
von
is.
Furstenberg, Barry Diller is Bob Cocaine Evans' underling. That's who he handed Paramount over to.
interesting.
But he worked as a
Yeah.
receptionist for Bernie Kornfeld. That piques my interest, because
Yeah.
I'm going to be coming back to old Bernie,
Right.
because Bernie is extremely suspicious, because allegedly the IRS was investigating him in relation to him and old Hubs involved in some drug trafficking and money laundering. And I'm like, oh, do tell, please. I'm very, very curious, because I mean, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, the way that I look at all of these operations, whether it's Hugh Hefner, whether it's Bernie Kornfeld, or the Manson family in particular, ultimately the purpose that they served was blackmailing people in power.
So
You are correct, ma'am. That's a great point. I'm just laughing at this. I love
Yeah.
these PTK memes. You often post them as well there, ma'am.
That's the
so-
first meme that got me to read the book, was that one.
Yeah, I absolutely love these. So the reason I brought this up real quick is because the post I quote tweeted is actually some new MK Ultra docs just dropped, courtesy
Yes,
of
they did.
the NSA archive. Quote: The Artichoke organization had been studying the use of certain facilities in the United States as testing grounds for new ideas, experiments, etc., particularly using criminals and the criminally insane. Boom. If you know, since we were talking about Dave McGowan being proven right,
Yeah.
here we go. Just a bit more evidence to prove that this man was far ahead of a lot of people.
I like where your brain hole's at, sir. I appreciate you bringing that up, because let me put a little fun fact on the book end of that one to prove your point there about proving McGowan's point. We're proving points here on Halloween. Thank you, folks at Interwest, for joining us here on Proving Points on Halloween show. But and picture this: in 1953, Charles Manson, Edward Wayne Edwards, the serial killer you probably never heard about, and Otis Toole were sitting in the Federal Reformatory in Chillicothe, Ohio, on a mound. And I do suspect that is when these men got roped into these matters.
Right. That's
10 years later,
good
in
observation.
1962, Thomas Eugene Creech, know that name? Michael Aquino
yeah.
does. Anton LaVey does. He was there at the start of the Church of Satan. He's sitting in prison today in that old state of Idaho. He did the same Bonnie and Clyde campaign as Edwin Edwards did in 1969, that Edwin Edwards did in 1959 in Idaho. And weird, they came from the same place. And they're both
Imagine that.
Nazi Satanists.
Yep.
Satanists
Shocker.
don't exist.
Well,
I was told. Oh, go ahead, ma'am.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just being ridiculous. Go ahead.
Okay. So to piggyback off of your post, Jacob, so this is like whatever teaser for the episode I'm working on, but because when I saw that drop yesterday, I was like, great, now I have to stop what I'm doing and see if any of this stuff is named in there, because
Right.
one of the areas that I'm looking at that's connected to Paul Krasner and George von Hilsheimer, which obviously this is all process adjacent, but it's called Harbin Hot Springs, and it has been rumored, but I'm laying out the argument factually, that since 1968, when one of these spooks took over the property and turned it into a massive cult, he said when he was setting it up that it was not only serving as a spiritual community, but it was also serving as a research center. And they were heavily dosing people with LSD. His wife actually lost a baby. She was pregnant, and but they spiked her drink with LSD, and they were giving the kids acid as well. Yeah,
Fucking
Harbin Hot
monsters.
Springs.
Didn't
Yeah.
this place close down?
No, it's still open today.
I thought it burned down.
Lovely.
Oh, it's burned down multiple times, but the man who
Yeah.
owns it today is a man by the name of Robert F. Hartley, aka Ishvara, who is a close intimate of the late George
Yeah.
von Hilsheimer.
Oh shit! Connection to the New Age.
No shit. I hiked to this place
Cool.
like 15 years ago
Yeah, it's really dark.
when it was
This
not
stuff
it was not
ties-
open at the time, and it was burnt down, partially in ruins.
Yeah, well, the argument that I'm going to be laying out is going to take more than one episode, but this goes directly into Pizzagate, so it is what
No
it is.
shit.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe-
Don't.
I'm
Doesn't it always?
If this is
end
not
up
the
there?
exact same place I'm thinking of, I think I'll have to get back to you, ma'am. This is an interesting environment. This is a Pizzagate, huh? Is there a burger
yeah.
element to all that?
Oh, it goes right into it, yeah, because
Yeah,
it's,
this is the same spot. Holy shit!
yeah.
I gotta. What do you got? What do you got on this spot?
I'm not gonna lay out my whole podcast episode here. I've been recording this.
So I'm saying no, but I'm saying when can we hear more on this? Is what I meant. Is what I meant to ask.
Oh well, I mean, my goal is
It's-
to have
you've got
hopefully
quite a
out by
teaser here.
Sunday. Hopefully out by Sunday. But I mean, there's a really good argument, because there were a lot of rumors, people saying that they heard these conversations directly, because one of the projects that they name, I cannot find any records on this project, which makes me think that it is legitimate. But that the owner that Hartley took over for, so that the owner today took over for, that individual was using Harbin as a operations center specifically for Operation Chaos and another project called Project One. And I mean, I have the name of his handlers. One of the guys is Lou Mobley, the founder of IBM, and an individual
shit.
named James Hester, who is also a very spooky individual. But there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on there, and it's very strange, because this same individual who's accused of working specifically for Operation Chaos out of Harbin Hot Springs, he was also good friends with John Lennon, which is really weird.
That's super weird. Now that
And he's-
site,
Wow.
that site is definitely a new age hip. It goes back to the 60s for sure. Because the reason I
Right.
found out about it was from a fellow by the name of, you might know this, be familiar with this kind of a Nazi name, Ochsner, fellow by the name of Ochsner, Swiss fellow. Like Ochsner Medical Clinic in New Orleans, the Nazi doctor. From
Oh,
Project
okay, yeah,
Paperclip, kind of Ochners. Down in New Orleans, right? All the medical facilities named Ochsner. That's a Nazi Project Paperclip guy. I don't know the relations with this Ochsner guy. This Ochsner guy is fairly spooky, but he's of that age. He's, he's in his 70s now, but he's the fellow that told me about that site out there being some sort of epicenter of activity burnt down. And, I have a thing of hiking to old burnt down hot springs. My favorite one is Camp Verde, Arizona. Now, if you're in that area, Al Capone's old hot springs burnt down, but you can still hike there. It's a brief hike. And they're very wonderful hot springs. Very, very nice.
It's a very specific.
It's a weird
thing.
hobby I have.
Right.
Yes, sir. I understand. We live in a Muppet world. I try to stay sane in Muppet world. So through my travels, in my ventures, I like to go hike to old dilapidated hot springs. And my quote unquote Uncle Pete, no relations, Ochsner, had advised me that site out there, and I had hiked to it. Again, this was years ago. It was defunct at the time. It's looking at their Wikipedia. It's gone through different periods of being defunct. So It's weird that how it always remains a weird center of activity. Is it the geographical location? Is there something going
Yes.
on in the water out there?
Yes,
I was
it's a
just gonna say
geo.
In the
it
water.
has to be.
Is something like geothermal, because there was a big deal
Yeah.
about it in the courts after Robert Hartley Ishvara took over, where they had to make this agreement with this company to do these geothermal experiments. But also, like this place is the original Esalen. This predates Esalen. This
And
actually
see, I was
goes
just
out.
gonna bring
Okay.
that up.
It goes back to being a sort of spiritual haven in the late 1800s, which is strange, you know. And don't get me wrong, I mean, Esalen goes back to
Wow.
like the 20s and the 30s, but you know, obviously I'm talking about the area being spiritual or something of that sort. I'm not talking about Esalen itself with Michael Murphy,
Right.
but it's always gone through these weird iterations of being, you know, this supernatural type of place. And I mean, hell, even at one point, you know, a lot of the locals assumed that you know, the Klan was involved in burning down the competition back in like the early 1930s, because there was a competing sort of lodge spa type healing place, and
Yep.
apparently they were going to sell it to an African American proprietor, and well, it just happened to burn down. So
Well, and
Shockers. Weird how
this
those
is
things work out.
also this is also at the height of the spiritualist movement, which
yeah.
are, you know,
Yes.
is connected to so many things, from the intelligence communities, connected New Age movement, connected to like the early feminist movement. It's like
Yes.
spiders or octopused out, like it's everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then also like the alien angle too, you know,
Right.
it's because this
There you
dude
go.
saying that like he's been on UFOs and these
Oh
ETs
God,
visit
one of
him
those.
and all this stuff. And I'm just like, but then, you know, you see these trends. It's the same thing with Colonia Dignidad, right? Like Colonia Dignidad was the exact same model as Jonestown. The head Nazi pedophile running Colonia Dignidad was in the same church, the same, you know, group of belief, whatever, but higher ranking than Jim Jones. You cannot
Right.
tell me that that is a coincidence. But they also believed in aliens, right?
There
And
you go.
it's like,
Right.
what do we see? It's the
See-
same thing every single time. It's a death cult. They're Nazis and they believe in aliens and they like to fuck dogs and kids. I'm sorry. It is
Hey.
what it is.
You're hired, ma'am. You just named the greatest common denominators around these cult bastards. And isn't it weird we get an ancient alien cargo cultist like, you know, deep into that business of the Typhonian nature of the OTO offshoots? Peter Levenda infiltrating this Colonia Dignidad. And isn't it strange that, you know, these fuckers all know each other? Like, that's what I mean by, like, they live by a different narrative. They're doing some ancient alien cargo cult warfare narratives, and we're out here just, you know, living life. You know what I mean? Then they lie to us about their inner warfare cult activities amongst themselves. And I think that's really how a lot of these things go down. And these ancient alien cargo cults, I heard it in a song somewhere, they haunt the moon's pale beams. So I'm just, you know, watch out for them. You got to watch out for them. And I had a request for this. You also got to watch out for lasers.
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
Stay vigilant, folks. They got Ted. Got Ted twice.
Man, I want to know what kind of laser beams, you know?
I think I may have resolved some of those matters. You got shot twice. You don't. Well, you know, we'll get into that. I don't want to get off on a Ted laser tag Ted tangent here. Back to these matters though, relative to the Kirk situation. You see this mapping guy who's big and he's a lord for shit's sake. You know, right? I'm sorry,
Right.
Candace's husband's a lord, so he's obviously wielding some degree of power over there in their old British systems. And you know, is he a Scientologist? Is he reporting to Scientology? How's that working out? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
you try
I
to
don't
understand
know.
that dynamic at all, or look?
There's nothing that documents it, but I'm sorry. They use Camelot Castle. They say themselves that Camelot Castle is a recruiting ground for CCHR. They are actively recruiting, holding Scientology events there. Again, it's the whole concept of a secret Scientologist, right? These people don't want to admit that they are Scientologists. Now, John Mappin, he's been holding the cans a little bit too long. He's a little cooked up in the old noggin. So he loves talking about Scientology, but it's how many connections does it take, right?
And there you go. Once again, ma'am, are you in my brain hole? Because you were saying secret Scientologist, and that's exactly what I want to get into next. It's my understanding, based upon this man's sister's father-in-law, weird statement. The father-in-law of this man's sister says the entire Teller family, including his son, who's married to the sister, are all Scientologists.
Well,
Which is
they like
interesting
to hang
'cause-
out together.
There you go. And it's interesting because he played opposite Tom Cruise here, right? And I often assert that these secret Scientologists, I have a kind of a list I've compiled, and then you star opposite a major Scientologist like Tom Cruise, and once, twice, three, you get certain scores the number of times you do these things. Miles Teller's off the charts because Miles Teller starred in The Offer as CIA agent Al Ruddy, Cocaine Bob's co-executive producer on The Godfather. So he's from every angle doing some processing, Cocaine Bob style Scientology business, it seems. And it appears the idea of a secret Scientologist where they all fucking know each other and stick around each other is indeed correct, because that seems to be what this Miles Teller dude shtick is. That's why he's where he is, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, they all seem to work together. They like to do their art together, whether that's movies, TV shows, whatever the case may be. And it makes sense,
You're
right?
calling it art?
Well, I mean, it's their version of art, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, old Hubs loved his celebrities. So, obviously that's going to be their biggest form of like public art, whatever you want to call it. And, it's why did John Mappin, who deleted his tweet after I started getting traction on the damn reply, why did he delete his tweet saying that Candace teaching him about Catholicism helped him become a better Scientologist? And does that go the other way? Because do you expect me to believe that when Candace was feeling a pull to go to England, to go to the UK, that Charlie picks up the phone and just calls Mappin, they're hanging out with these Scientologists, that Candace nor Charlie did not hold the cans? Are you going to convince me of that? You're not. You're just not, because it's going to be presented as a personality test. It's going to be presented as something else that's completely harmless. I just don't buy it. It doesn't track for me.
Interesting point. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I mean, it makes so much sense.
She won't talk about it. She won't talk about the fact that he's a Scientologist, though. Why won't you talk about it? And why won't you talk about that he was in Epstein's Black Book? Why won't you talk about it? Especially because your dear friend who you're out here, I'm sorry, grifting off of his death, just like everybody fucking else. What was he talking about near the end of his death, where people were going, oh, Israel did it, because he was pushing for the release of this alleged Epstein list, okay? This is the things that I'm talking about, because Mappin's in the fucking Black Book. That's a little too inconvenient. Mappin being a Scientologist, that's a little too inconvenient. Mappin being plugged into the aristocracy of, the UK, this British, these incestuous families since,
Whoa, easy, man. You can't say that.
Whatever. They're cousin fuckers, okay? They want to sit here and call,
a long line of cousin fuckers, all right?
They want to sit here and call, like, they make fun of, like, whatever.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time, man. I'm just giving. But to be honest with you, my Appalachian family tree looks like a family pole. It lacks the requisite branches to call it a tree. I do come from a long line of cousin fuckers. That is.
I'm just. I understand that.
Here in America.
I understand that. I'm not saying that it's limited to the UK, but I'm just saying it's, Mappin is highly connected, and he is the nexus point between Candace, her husband, and Kirk, and nobody wants to talk about the fact that he was in Epstein's Black Book and that he's a fucking Scientologist. Why?
I think that's great stuff, ma'am. And the point I was getting about all the cousin fucking over here in America is it's the same people, though, right? So, like, for example, mine and cousin Charles Manson, we're both Maynard McCoys from Pikeville, Kentucky. And we're there's a couple Maynards over in British Parliament right now. They'd be like 6th and 7th cousins of mine and old Charlie, if you will. The devil, some folks call him. But all these fuckers adore that man, and they do call him Satan and Jesus Christ. He is a god to them. It doesn't matter what level of these processings or Scientologists, in fact, it seems they love themselves from Charlie. But it does connect that old world to the new world, in my opinion, when you look at those matters like that. And with the Kirk situation even further, Yeah, it's weird. So like Charlie Kirk's wife is her paternal grandmother's an Erickson. The medical examiner they brought in, new medical examiner, brand new, she's an Erickson. That's weird. Now, the Kratskys, her paternal, line, her wife's paternal line, Erica Kirk's, her paternal grandfather was knighted by the King of Sweden, a member of the Society of the Cincinnati. Charlie Kirk's fifth great grandfather, if indeed he is a Kirk, which I would argue otherwise, a Lieutenant Jesse Kirk, Virginia chapter, Society of Cincinnati. The only person we got live footage of that day, Adam, I always forget that Muppet's name. He's also a descendant of the General Society of Cincinnati. The Mormon branch. He's part of that Mormon branch. So it's weird. We're getting all these cargo cult. And don't be wrong, they're ancient alien cargo cultists, those Cincinnati schemers. So we do see, looking on you identified these salient characteristics, ma'am, amongst these cult fuckers. I think that's the best way to look at it, because looking otherwise, you'd be like, why are all these folks kind of coagulating together, ancient alien cargo cult style? The Scientologists, the Mormons, the Society, all these people, and doing weird cult stuff, whether it be warfare amongst themselves or otherwise, right? It paints an odd environment.
Yeah. I mean, and again,
Scientology,
I'm not out here claiming that anybody stole it from me. I'm just pointing out the weird timing. If you've been on my X, you've seen it. But I did beat Candy Ass Candace to pointing out and publicizing that Rob McCoy, the Seven Mountain Mandate pastor who runs TP Faith, who was Charlie Kirk's pastor, that his grandfather was a naval intelligence psychological warfare officer.
Right.
I pointed that out a week before Candace did. So on top of her saying fake and gay, and then that a week later, she's conveniently picking out things and avoiding other things. And for anybody, and I'm sorry, but I have strong feelings about this, and I'm just going to fucking say it, and I'm not going to apologize. For anybody to sit there and paint Candace as fucking naive when Mappin sits there and posts about Scientology all the fucking time and tags her in posts about Scientology all the fucking time, you are either lying to yourself or you are being willfully ignorant.
Get them.
Period.
I agree with you.
She is not organic. Yeah. None of this is organic. I, understand people wanting to give her the benefit of the doubt because she's a female. Sorry, let's all be real.
Yep.
We know how to tug on the heartstrings.
Gotta be compassionate.
So people want to give her the benefit of the doubt that she's trying to investigate the death of her friend, but she's not breaking news and she's not at risk of fucking anything. She is married to Lord George Farmer, or Baron George Farmer, whatever the fuck his name is. Get out of here.
Muppet.
Right.
You're spot on, man. I like your style as always. You're blowing up my brain hole with a lot of these details tonight. And in regards to it was Bartholomew, Adam Bartholomew. He's a descendant of General Bartholomew. He was a wing of the Mormon wing of society, which is an offshoot of the society. The Mormons are, from Joseph Smith on down. These are hereditary members of the knighthood that started America. Right. So we had a good question here for you. I thought I've already lost it. So it was, what is the connection? I'm lost in Muppet World here, folks. So it was, what is the connection? Here we go. Boom. What is the connection between the process and Society of Cincinnati? Would you like to take that, ma'am? Or I'd be happy to if you would not like to. But I know we did a pretty barn-burning conversation.
I forgot what connection I made. Which process?
We went full-blown process, right? I remember one, and I was hoping you would remember the other, to be quite honest with you. So we have Satan Astor Drayton's daughter, right?
That's it.
Maria Astor, go ahead. I'll teach you.
Yeah, no, that's the one. That's the only one that I remember. Right. Did you find another one?
It still blows up my brain hole, so go ahead.
No, did you find another one?
Well, there was that instance of the fella in there was a early member out of Westchester County that I found connections to. You'd pointed me to, and I did some genealogy on, and that name has escaped my brain hole.
Batista.
It's a real dead of iniquity up there.
Is it Batista?
Oh, was it Bingham?
Oh, Bing. Well, of course, Bingham. That tracks.
Bingham. So, which they're an interesting family. But no, so Satan Astor Drayton's daughter is a founding member of the process. He was a hereditary member of the South Carolina chapter of the society, the hereditary descendant from Colonel Drayton and his wife. So Maria's Astor Drayton's mother, the original member, Timothy Wiley's wife, her mother was a descendant of General Gadsden, as the Gadsden flag. This guy knows what I'm talking about. Don't tread on me. I actually have that tattooed on my body hole. So these are the matters in which America was founded by, but it is their descendant who helps bring us the process. And Satan Astor Drayton's first cousin, we'll call her Sue Astor because I can't remember her first name. She was married to I believe it's pronounced financier. They call it financier of the Church of Satan. So that's the epicenter between the process, OG process, and the Church of Satan is first cousins Astor there. And again, you have all that Roosevelt activity between the Church of Satan and the Manson situation. And LaVey knew everybody on both sides of the Manson situation. And he'd been friends with Abigail Folger's mother prior to that medical clinic there you were talking about in Haight Ashbury. They met in 1964.
Correct. And
courtesy of... Oh, go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, courtesy of that same couple. That same couple, the heir to the Vickers gun manufacturing fortune, who was the financier of the Church of Satan. I think that's how you say financier. And again, he's the one who put LaVey into all the high life because LaVey was just the son of or the nephew of a made Jewish gangster out of Chicago who helped open Meyer Lansky's operations in Las Vegas. And LaVey was there for that too. But no, he's just a carnival barker, man. And the Process Church closed in 1974.
Well, I mean, that's, Nicholas Schreck, Zena LaVey, Michael Aquino. These are the people that, started the shitcoat campaigns with, the whole Anton LaVey thing so that people wouldn't look into it. And it's interesting. I'm glad you brought up about Bingham and the society because, according to INS and the IRS, as soon as little Claudia Bingham's name got brought up, they quit looking into anything that was going on in Mexico. They said, "Oop, nope, we're not looking into that," and that's why they stopped. So I think that it is very interesting that that speaks to the power of, I would say that's a clear indication of some very dark familial secret society ties right there that would put it in its tracks. Because I mean, it's like, okay, so Congressman Bingham, but a lot of these other people are related to politicians, but her in particular, she was the only one that they said, nope, we're not touching this anymore.
And not unlike the Maynards, the Binghams are still over there in Parliament.
Yeah.
So why is it weird? Isn't it weird that we find this British invasion of the MI6 process stuff and they all fucking know each other? And there's a lot of these families that are from these peerage, like Candace Owens' husband.
Yeah.
Like Michael Aquino. He lost his peerage for diddling. It said improprieties of some regard.
Yeah.
I thought he didn't do nothing. I thought the Process Church closed in 1974. Ma'am, I'm in a panic. I've been real panicked. This is year 45. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, of the satanic panic. I'm real panicked.
Well, I mean, some could say that it's odd that Abigail Folger's cousin was on the board, or is on the board, I should say, of the Transformer Gallery that James Alefantis of Pizzagate, not Pizzagate fame owns.
Wasn't
And
that fancy?
apparently, allegedly, that he is best friends with Abigail Folger, right? That's really weird. And that the Cafferits, Pamela Cafferits, Keith Raniere's original right-hand woman before what's-her-face, Alex Mack took over, that Pamela Cafferits heavily funded the Transformer Gallery and Transformer Foundation. So it's almost like this is intergenerational, right?
This is the St. Cafferits Raniere situation of Nexium, which I assert is indeed, based upon their own statements of the Nazi Satanists, is indeed the Albany chapter of the Process Church. And you don't have to take my word for it. And after this clip, sir, if you can just hold that thought, go ahead. Actually, go ahead, sir. What were you saying? Something? I cut you off there, other JJ. I apologize.
Oh no,
I got lost in Muppet World of Full Blown Process, sir. I apologize.
No, I'm kind of just sitting here, just kind of like soaking in this information because, just like Dana said, it's almost like it's generational. It's almost like all these people know each other, and it kind of gets passed down through,
and they even brag about it,
family. Right.
They even brag about it. Basis for Skinny Puppy, Rick Rubin's The Process that he produced.
Right.
Skinny Puppy, who's a number 2 in the Satanic Temple. You know, that process.org, process church tattoo right about, here.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Don't ignore the goat of Mendes, because that's the process goat of
apologies.
Mendes on the other arm. He has 2
Right.
process tattoos.
Let me just bring up these. I have a picture of that somewhere, I'm sure. But I'll play a clip for us while I bring up these photos. But yeah, obviously the Satanic Temple and their P-scope or E-meter is seemingly a wing of the process, and you got to take my word for it. They'll tell you the process never ended in that Albany chapter specifically, which I assert evolved into Nexium, as you were just pointing out, man, with the Caffrets Ranieri business. And again, they're obviously on their face, they would be considered squirrels by Scientology because they were doing the Hubbard technologies, if you will. So I hate that term. Outside of the terms of Scientology. So that is indeed, again, what Doug's doing with the P-scope. Is he not doing squirrel activity? Why are they not harassing Doug with squirrel business? I'm tired of using the word squirrel, so I'll stop right now.
It's because he's allowed to.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. That's because the Process Church never closed in 1974. Is that what you're telling me, huh?
Oh.
Could have sworn I'd seen that in a Netflix documentary. Telling me they were wrong, huh? That's well, we can hear from them too. Here's Doug Morrison, no relation to Jim that I'm aware of. I'll look to see who his daddy was and what he did, though. It'd be interesting to know. We know what Jim Morrison's daddy did, who he was and what he did. Of course, sadly, Jim recently passed. Rush Limbaugh, so you'll have that.
I'm just curious to hear what you say about that.
Yeah. So in order for me to really talk about that, I'll have to fill in a bit more of the story.
Yes, absolutely.
In terms of so with Skinny Puppy, the band imploded when we were in Malibu. It was and not in a very nice way, and we all kind of went our separate ways. I went back to Canada at that point, and we had launched process.org, and I was still pushing the project ahead, but I was kind of on my own at that point. And then I got an email one day from somebody who said that they were the first child born to the process. And then I got a flood of emails from people who were actually members of the process, and that came out of nowhere. At first it was a bit intimidating because I didn't, and then I realized I got contacted from the Albany chapter, which was still in existence, and then I got contacted from the Toronto chapter, which was still in existence. Wow. They weren't done. They just went underground. So that and their approach was kind.
My apologies. I didn't mean to do that. It's a little Halloween invasion from Michael Myers during his Vanilla Ice stage.
Yeah.
So, that was this clip. Michael Myers in his Vanilla Ice stage. So we heard right there the Albany chapter never closed. That's weird. I was told they closed in 1974. What are they talking about?
Well, the Albany chapter was also where Williamson's Bainbridge was located at for a time. And also, with Caffrets specifically, Charlene Caffrets is the same Charlene. That is the Caffrets name that runs from Manson to Nexium. I mean, these things go, it's just a big spider web that people want to deny that these things are connected. And you can deny it if you want. That's fine. But it's just the facts.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Did you have something there, other JJ? Because I have another clip here of how the Process Church closed in 1974. That's what they told me.
Let's not forget that Best Friends were also registered here in Utah in 1968, which
it does seem that way.
Is incredibly strange. No, I was kind of just looking for these connections between Skinny Puppy and Courtney Love. Because
that's what I was going to ask you. I wanted to get into the grunge stuff. I just wanted to play one more clip before we got there. So
No. Of course,
I like your brain holes. That I just want to hear from Doug on how MrProcess.org. Mr. I'm going to attack satanic ritual abuse victims and my grave factions. Go fuck yourself, Muppet.
Became aware of Ted Gunderson. I think it was about 2004, and I was researching this old defunct cult from the 60s known as the Process Church of the Final Judgment, and
Oh, I see. Old defunct cult. Did he say Ted Gunderson?
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
Watch your six, folks. They sadly they got Ted. They got him twice, in fact. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah,
You're about to take us into Processville of grunge, I believe. Is that the journey you're taking us on? So we close this out.
Well, kind of, because I was curious. I mean, because Skinny Puppies keep getting brought up.
Yup.
And or Skinny Puppy. I mean, it's just kind of interesting to me because, like, I don't quite understand, and maybe Dana, you have some insight into this. The process is use of music, because it kind of seems like they're spread a lot further than they're not. You know. It's like every time I turn around, I find some odd kind of like underground band that has a process connection one way or another. I either see their artwork, I either see mentions of them in songs, I see their ideas being written about, just everything. And
it's almost like Ed Sanders was right. The process people are everywhere.
Right.
The music is really important, and it's a good observation. I wish that more people would make it because, obviously you have the obvious things like, Psychic TV, Temple of Psychic Youth, whether it's Skinny Puppy, 9 Inch Nails, there's a lot of arguments to be made about some of these later bands, but, the process had
Ma'am,
the
if I
voice.
may interject, how about one of your favorites, my Thrill Kill Cult? How about them? Are they good?
No, I'll pass. No, thanks. But like one of their earliest iterations, it was founding process members. I think it was called the Voice or the Process Voice or the version. That song, what is it? The High Train to Disaster, very early 60s, out of the UK, kind of edgy music, but it is, and they said specifically that they were using this as a medium to spread their message. So this is a way, besides their very eye-capturing artwork, because, let's all be honest with each other, their magazines are really well done, the propaganda is really well done, it's very colorful, and it really draws the eye, it's very unique. It's all by design for a reason.
Right.
They've invested a lot of money into that propaganda for a reason, but yes, music is a huge part of it.
The graphic design work for them is insane.
What's that?
I apologize. I'm on a delay apparently. No, I was gonna say we also, it's not just rock, the overt rock stuff we're talking about here, and industrial rock specifically there. Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah, I know. That's one that I just kind of swallowed the tough pill on because I'm sorry, but Maggot Brain is never not going to slap. And Blue Oyster Cult, yeah, I mean, they have a lot of process nods. And they took, I think it's On Your Knees, On Your Hands, that album. They shot that right outside of one of the Process's properties, when the Process was there. They have a lot of German Shepherds in their album covers. There's also
Secret Treaties, right? You got the cloak with the German Shepherds there, right?
Yeah, and when you listen, and don't get me wrong, Blue Oyster Cult slaps. I enjoy the music, but like when you find out that they're either admitting or obfuscating and just kind of hinting to it in the artwork of the album cover that there's a process connection, but you go and look at the lyrics are very processy, and don't fear the reaper, that's very don't fear death, it's kind of balancing all of that stuff out. But it's still a great song.
I don't disagree, man. I used to require a lot more cowbell in my life too. But are you familiar with the Oak Beach Inn? And this is a common stomping ground for the Blue Oyster Cult, right there on the Gilgo Beach dumping site.
Oh, imagine that.
Plot thickens. The plot thickens.
That's incredibly interesting.
It got shut down for being a real den of iniquity. Go figure. It's the Westchester County outpost in Long Island there.
That doesn't surprise me at all. And isn't it convenient that the gardener, is coming out of retirement at the exact same time that we have Mr. Josh Zeman, the original shitcoder of Maury Terry, publicly coming out, because obviously there's some legal movement with the Gilgo case, but he's coming out again. So we have all of these people re-emerging at the exact same time to push their bullshit.
I do. I have a response to that, man. In fact,
that's fucking interesting, man. That's fucking interesting.
Isn't it
You
weird?
know, can I tell you
Coincidence.
something? That I just watched that movie for the first time like a month and
Are
a
you
half
kidding
ago.
me right now?
It was
I've
so funny. It was so
Yeah.
funny. I loved it so,
fantastic.
so much.
Gerald Hall often tries to get me detoured on some Lebowski tangents, and I'm happy to usually comply. But I try to maintain maintain some order. I'm trying to remain calm, especially in the face of the lasers. They got Ted twice.
Perfectly calm, dude.
Yeah, waving the fucking gun around?
Calmer than you are.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Bring
That
your 45
guy-
plus of the Satanic Panic. You know that, right?
That's my
Right.
favorite character in that movie. Like, I was sitting there watching it and I was like, what have I been doing with my entire life? Like, this movie's hilarious.
Oh, Walter
It's
Sobchak
really
is the
good.
best. Walter Sobchak is a great character.
Yeah, it's an amazing
Oh,
movie.
Yeah, the town that I live next to actually hosts a Big Lebowski, not a convention, but it's like a movie festival. So they, in one of the old movie theaters that we have here, they show the movie and they do costume contests and all sorts of fun stuff.
That's awesome. I can
Nice.
see why. I can see why it's like a cult
Oh, yeah.
classic. It's
Such a
it's
great
so
movie.
funny. John Goodman, I mean, his character was my absolute favorite. Like, because I already like love Vietnam vets very much, but like
Right.
his whole thing of just constantly bringing up Vietnam, I'm like, yeah, I should have watched
Fantastic.
this a long time ago.
He constantly references it so much that the dude is like, all right, Walter, it's like, it's nothing to do with it, Walter. Nothing to do with it.
Right. Yeah, it's
a fantastic
so-
film. I like the Coen Brothers films, generally speaking. I'm a big fan of a lot of their work.
Same.
That one's definitely my favorite.
Yeah,
Same.
it's very good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so back to the music stuff just real quick before I kind of get lost on
Boom,
that.
right there, sir. Way ahead of you, bud. Look at that. Trying
Yeah.
to out JJ me, sir. I respect it, but I'm not going to have any of that around here, buddy. Look here,
So
buddy.
I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the Kurt Cobain case, but which is funny. I know so much about this case, but I'm not that big of a fan. Like I like Nirvana just like anyone else kind of does, but it's not like they're my favorite band or anything. But
No.
I have an issue with it because it's very clear that he did not take his own life. And I have an issue with this because there have been copycats, kids that have gone out and taken their own lives because Kurt did. And this is a big problem to me. In fact, the latest one happened just last year. So, I mean, it's still happening. And Dylan Carlson was allegedly one of Kurt's best friends. And according to another man's testimony who just came out, I believe now 2 years ago, Joe, who was there the night that Kurt was killed, Dylan Carlson was directly involved, according to what he said. Now, if you look into Dylan Carlson's band, which is called Earth, by the way, there are just process connections
My apologies.
all the way through his music. In fact, I found this article. Let's see.
Now, before we jump into that, sir, I do like where your brain hole's at. And when I saw that post and looked at it, I was like, holy smokes, dude, you're onto something here, buddy.
Yeah.
You might be trying to out JJB indeed, because it's interesting because he's the guy who also ran interference with private detective Tom Grant, taking him around the property there, but not telling him the room above the garage existed.
Right. And what's crazy is from the position in which they were parked when they went looking for Kurt, they were able to see the room above the greenhouse, or the greenhouse above the garage. So because at the time there was no gate. I mean, if you go to the house now, there's like a gate and there's all this security stuff. None of that was there. You could literally just walk up to his house, which was the reason that he actually bought the shotgun, was for protection.
His wife.
And yeah. And what's interesting, Dylan Carlson was the one that bought it for him. And also for some reason, the receipt for the gun was found in his pocket. Like, what the fuck?
Totally normal, dude. Totally normal.
Yeah, and the receipt for the shells were in the bag, which were at the bottom of his feet and stuff. But man, this Dylan Carlson character.
Well, they also, if I may, sir, they also identified him by his driver's license because his face was allegedly blown off. And lo and behold, there's his wallet open right there on top of the dead body with it says Kurt Cobain driver's license. Oh, weird. That's convenient.
So what's interesting, the shotgun used, a Remington Model 11, is actually too long for him to have used it. Now, he also used, it was 20 gauge birdshot, and it actually didn't even blow out any part of him. It did cause major damage from, internally, so it still would have killed him. But the problem is that there was no blood splatter anywhere, which means that he was dead by the time that the gun went off.
You're talking to a nurse there, sir, so I think she would agree with you on your assessment. That blood ain't pumping through the heart, and ain't no blood pouring out anywhere, is there, ma'am?
Correct.
Right. And what's interesting is, all of this is interesting in my opinion, but the shotgun shell was on the wrong side because, as most people know, a shotgun will eject the empty case out of the side. Well, this one's no different, but the shell was on the wrong side from where it should have ejected. And not to mention the amount of heroin he had in his system was like 3 times the amount of like a high level use junkie. There's just way too many connections. However, what's interesting is Dylan Carlson is one of 3 people who Courtney has paid monthly by a check since the incident. So Dylan Carlson receives a check from Courtney Love monthly and just pays for his life, pays his bills. So it's totally a large check. Right. Totally normal. But it was 3
just like it's totally normal that we see Kurt hanging out with Scientologist William Burroughs.
Right. And like I said, if you go and look at the band and listen to their music, they're okay, but it's doom metal. Okay. Something I'm into. The band's it's mid. There's a article from Vice talking to Earth about the occult and playing in a doom band when you're happy, which is like such an odd thing. So this is back in 2014. And it's just really strange because you look at what Dylan Carlson or the rest of the band are talking about, and it almost reads like anything you read about the process. And so I personally haven't been able to find any like direct connection. I'm just having a hard time reconciling that there is no connection because I don't believe that there is.
I think you're onto something, sir. We'll have to convene on these matters in the future, but I like your brain holes right on this. And we see the epicenter of activity with Burroughs, the use of that smiley face. That's courtesy of Burroughs. It's the same inception of the use of the fucking smiley face in Industrial Rock with Boyd Rice. That's fucking creepy. That's a spooky fun fact for folks of the interwebs here tonight. So as we bring this thing in for land, I want to thank you, Dana, ma'am, and you, other JJ, always out there trying to out JJ me. I respect it, sir, but I'm not going to have it. I'd like to thank both of you all for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD.
Hold, please. Must say it before we end. Burroughs liked to have sex with kids. He bragged about paying $5 to $10 to have sex with little boys.
It's always the diddling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Always the diddling.
Burroughs was a fucking pedophile, so was Genesis Bjorage, and they were very good friends. And they were also hanging out with Timothy Leary when the Topi House raid went down and all of the evidence of kids consenting to certain things was destroyed. Leary was there too.
They just lost it. It's totally lost.
Yeah, that's normal.
Hey, ma'am, don't think we're ending here. You got to sing us a song here before we close here on Halloween. You got to sing.
You're fucking high. That ain't happening. I'm not going to make Halloween that terrifying.
I'm glad you enjoyed my humor, my poking fun. I appreciate you playing along. So I was going to turn it over to you for some closing statements and any songs you may have available to sing.
I'm not singing anything, but nice try. Well, I don't know. Come tomorrow if you would like to join in on Sloppy Toppy Psyop Saturday, Patreon only. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. We just kind of fly by the seat of our pants. The podcast episode will hopefully be out by Sunday or Monday. And yeah, I will be getting into other stuff soon. When I get to it, I don't know. People are very demanding out here about me putting out content. And I'm like, y'all ain't paying me. Y'all ain't paying me enough. So if you guys want to pony up the cash, then I'll be happy to do it.
I'll make sure I got the links for your show there in tonight's show notes. And I think you're doing awesome stuff there, ma'am. I always enjoyed tuning in. In fact, I believe I shared this with you already. I was sitting there at listening to your last show there, talking about Scientology stuff and your roast of Scientology, if you will. Sitting on a bench with my pups at the park, and I was kind of happy there was no one there. Otherwise, I looked like a Looney Tune staring at the clouds, laughing by myself because it was a good roast. I enjoyed it.
Who doesn't like to make fun of Scientology? Make fun of them and kink shame everyone.
I second that.
Indeed. Other JJ, you've done a fair attempt of your attempt to out JJ me this evening. I do salute you on that, sir. I will not permit it though to happen. So do you have any closing statements for us this evening on our spooky Halloween shows?
Yeah, first I would just like to say happy Halloween to everyone. I hope everyone's had a fun, safe night. Honestly, thank you for having me on this show. I think it was a great conversation, an awesome barn burner of a conversation. And as far as out JJ and you, I told you I can't do it. Not that I would try, but I definitely got to carve my own JJ path because I mean you're out here doing JJ things. I got to do some JJ things.
We all got to do JJ things. I understand, sir. That's a good point. It's a good point. And you're welcome back anytime. I appreciate your time, and you're always welcome back anytime, man, for your first time here at Operation GCD. And I thank you all both for joining me here tonight. And I thank you folks of the interwebs for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD. And I have one plug that I have my Muppet Factories. They're commies. They're on union strike. So I have Operation GCD Sundays coming up here on Sunday. Good luck finding out what it is because I couldn't tell you. Anyhow, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. And on that note, I hope everyone has a wonderful, spooky Halloweens. And any last statements or alibis or baking recipes or perhaps that song you were going to sing us there, ma'am.
Not gonna happen. Go kink shame your neighbors.
That's what sound advice. Sound advice indeed. Other JJ?
Yeah, just real quick while you're waiting for Dana to drop her amazing episode that's coming out in due time, I'm sure. There's going to be all sorts of things over on my channel, so they'll be able to tide you guys over. Because I'm going to be chomping at the bit for her to drop her new episode as well, but we've all got to be patient. So yeah, head on over to my channel. Like I said, I've got a deep dive of the West Memphis 3 coming up with William. Plus I'm going to go through the basics of the whole case and everything so we can get that out of the way. And soon, very, very soon, I was hoping to have my Satanist episodes done, but it doesn't look like I'm gonna have those done in time, but they are coming, and it's gonna break them all down. They're gonna be shorter little episodes, and then I'm gonna get into talking about my experiences as a former Satanist and all of the fun stuff, because the big issue I have is I don't think people have a full grasp or understanding about Satanism and what it is and how people get into it and what happens once you're in and all of this other stuff. So you know what? I'll just take the plunge and do it. So be on the lookout for that.
Please do.
Be on the lookout for that, indeed, sir. I'll be on the lookout for that and for lasers.
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
Folks, be safe out there. It's spooky. Real spooky. And they got Ted twice. On that note, happy Halloween, folks of the interwebs. Catch you next time.
Well, that's it. That's the show here, folks. So the next time you're out on the town, visiting your local watering holes, or perhaps just meandering around, and you hear the unmistakable sounds of metal clanking, and you spot signs of a disturbance, well, check your six. Look in that garbage can, because you never can tell. The GCDs may be loose in your town.